All right, what's up, everybody? Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic day. So, we got a lot to talk about, man. Holy cow. So, yesterday, when we were doing a live stream for the community, I forgot to get the expected move for this week. And I realized that this week was a 4-day trading week. So, I anticipated that there was a 75-point expected move because the VIX closed up so high. And man, was I wrong. I went back and found some data. Apparently, at the close on Friday, there was a 142 point expected move for this week in the S&P 500. That is absolute insanity with a 4-day trading week. So basically, that would have given us an expected range like this. That is wide. So anyways, the S&P, I know this chart is ugly. Just give me a second to explain everything. The S&P yesterday tested a 21 exponential moving average on a daily time frame. It's also pretty close to the midpoint test of that drop candle there. You've got February's open up here. Yearly opening range right there. Tons and tons of resistance in this area. The S&P 500 has been making a broadening wedge pattern. This is the exact same pattern that Bitcoin made before Bitcoin dropped. Typically speaking, these are bearish patterns. So a lot of people are looking for the S&P to roll over. And I can see why. If you just base your analysis on this pattern alone. If you could, please let me know in the chat if the music is too loud. I would be very much appreciative of that because I can't tell how loud it is on your end. But anyways, yeah, so people are bearish on the S&P for just that reason alone. If you go and look at all the capital rotations that we're seeing market-wide, that is kind of why I am bearish. I don't trade patterns because I know they don't work that often. However, I mean, you can basically... You can see why they do, right? I mean, there's good reasoning when looking at supply and demand metrics to see why a pattern like this would be bearish. The S&P 500 usually trends, and it usually trends to the upside. As you can see with this chart, it does trend, and it trends really good. And we haven't been able to sustain a bullish trend or a breakout, sustained breakout, and higher highs, higher lows since October. So the S&P 500 has been trading in this range, and October is when we started to see capital rotations. So we're kind of in this, you know, is it going to or isn't it going to break down type of trade? There is a lot more pressure on the downside. Obviously, $7,000 S&P is a big number. So if we do start to see these ratios, the growth versus value ratio, the SPY versus energy ratio, if we start to see these ratios bottoming out and then capital does fly back into the S&P 500, then a huge bullish breakout above 7K could happen. So I'm not exceedingly bearish here, but the pattern and the rotation and Bitcoin and the VIX and oil has me bearish. So I'm looking for the S&P to break down. I'm looking for it to be a sizable breakdown as well, because think about it in terms of open interest. You have tons, I mean, literal tons of put call interest at 7K and above on the call side. And then on the put side, you have massive open interest from 67.17 and below. And then all of that garbage on the inside. So the more time you spend in this range, the S&P 500 trades millions of contracts per day on the SPX alone. You also have the SPY, you also have the ES. I mean, you have a ton of things that are just building up here. So it could be a large move. It could be a large move in either direction. So what I'm going to do, how I'm going to position myself, or I've already began to position myself, I am looking for a bearish breakdown more than I am looking for the bullish breakout. And I would potentially change that bias if the S&P 500 can trade above and maintain bullish pressure above this yellow line, which is simply the yearly opening range. And it makes it a very easy trade. If you're above this level, you have to be careful with being bearish because you could definitely run to 7K. But if you're below this level, it would be hard to be bullish. Now, with that being said, it is very important that we discuss everything here before you get a nasty bearish bias. All right, the VIX right now, today, is retesting last week's close. Why is this important? Well, today's Thursday, so your weekly range, be it only 4 days, is halfway done. Right now, you're testing last week's open. So I could make a case to be a buyer on the S&P today because of this fact alone. Now, if you take into this that you had a gap down and then a big move higher, taking out yesterday's high and currently trading above, makes it feel a little bit risky looking for that long. Because if the VIX is trading above this, it is threatening the weekly high again, which is right up here. So Tuesday, we took out last week's high to the upside. We have not taken out last week's low. So this is a big range here. If the VIX can sustain trading pressure in this white block here, then the S&P 500 could absolutely roll over. Big trades are being placed on the VIX right now. I saw a post on Twitter, or X, sorry, about over like a $2 million trade was put on a $70 call out to May, or a $1.2 million trade, sorry, out to May. So obviously that person could be selling the $70 calls. We don't know if they bought $70 calls. We just know that they put on $1.2 million of open interest at 70. But even if you know that, that doesn't really matter, right? Because they could have bought a $70 call in anticipation that the VIX is going to have a big break here. This VIX has only visited 70 twice since the VIX has been a tradable asset. In the GFC, and then once again in the pandemic, 2008, and then 2020. That's it. So to be placing a $70 trade on a VIX in less than 6 months, 5 months, May the 19th to be exact. That's the expiration. So they're anticipating potentially a breakdown to happen before then. Or they could be selling because they have a bullish bias. It's a very, very, very exciting time here. I can't even think about what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to move on so fast. But anyway, VIX is at a key level for today and tomorrow's trade. If we go look at other things, for instance, the Nvidia, we've been basically watching this level. We're bearish below it, not so much above it. But it's hard pressed to get me to be bullish here when we traded up to this thing Wednesday and then rolled over. And it feels like it's struggling to get back above that. Now, if you go look at what happened last week, the buyers, have they left? Or are they just biding their time, right? One day you took back all of the downside from the first 4 days of last week in one day. And then the second day you smoked the highs. But you did not make a fresh yearly high. Then you rolled back over, and then here you are retesting the yearly open again. It does feel like it's weak out there. But anyways, this is the other thing that you need to know before we go into today's trading session. The DXY has already taken out last week's high. LWH, it just stands for last week's high. You look at this on the weekly, you can see you're right now liquidating 2 weeks ago's high, which since this breakdown occurred, this is the high. So what does the dollar do here? Does it liquidate and roll over? If so, dollar weakness, there's a couple ways we could look at it, right? Dollar weakness could cause an unwind in stocks because of the yen carry trade unwind, but dollar weakness usually is good for stocks and Bitcoin. So dollar's at a very pivotal level here today. VIX is at a very pivotal level. We got a lot of things that are like getting ready to break out. This week alone, if you take into account the fact that we had a 142 point expected move for this week, and this week, the move has been muted in stocks. You haven't really gone anywhere, right? 2 days, not really gone anywhere. So today could get exciting. If you're trading under 68.78, I think I'd be looking for downside trades. The dollar does look like it is trying to break out to the upside. Here's USD CAD. It traded up into the 4-hour 200 exponential moving average, and then it's seen a nice little rollover here, but it looks like it's trying to break out. If it is going to break out to the upside, I want to be short XAG, which is silver. If the dollar is going to break out today, I want to be short silver. This is not the yearly opening range. This is a 4-hour supply zone. Yearly opening range is what silver bounced off of. But it's still bearish. It still has a bearish structure on the 4-hour, right? You're looking at moving averages to dictate your directional bias. If you're looking at objective directional bias, silver's still up on the year. The silver is still bullish on the year. However, on the near term, the 4-hour, you have rolled over, right? You had a blow off top almost, and you've seen heavier sell side pressure. Now, on the futures platform that I am using to trade silver right now, the sellers have to pay the buyers. So I was short all week last week on silver, accidentally closed that trade out on Tuesday, and I made a nice chunk of change in terms of money on just being short because the open interest, the longs had to pay the sellers. So since I was holding a short, since the trade was weak, I generated a very nice return, more than double what I was risking on the trade is what I made just from holding it from open interest. Well, now that open interest has shifted to where the sellers are paying the buyers. So it feels to me like a lot of buyers have come in here and scooped it up at the yearly opening range because they're anticipating gold and silver to stay bullish for 2026. It is a lower high still. So as long as we're trading under 77.95, which is 4-hour supply, if the dollar breaks out today, then I have a bearish bias on silver, and I'm looking for a retest of the 2026 yearly opening range. So that's trade number one. I'm already short Fartcoin. There's really nothing you can do in terms of looking for shorts on Fartcoin or Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned, because Bitcoin is right now trading at the low of day. It has been trending lower all week. If you look at it on a daily basis, every single day this week, here is Sunday, you traded right back down to Saturday's open, but you made a lower low on Sunday. And every day since, it has been a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. You are trending down, but it is not an aggressive trend lower. It is a very smooth, methodical, very simple to trade to the downside move. Could you be getting ready to bottom out? Maybe, but the VIX would definitely have to reject last week's close and start heading lower. So I would want to see the S&P going up. I would want to see dollar coming down. Like, there's a lot of things that I would need to see before I could even think about taking a long position on Bitcoin here, because the level we were originally watching for longs on Bitcoin was right here. It was just a prior 12-hour swing low. So we got long the first time we tested that level. We put a long on right here. The very next day, that long got stopped out. Then you saw a nice bounce away from that level. So I was correct on direction. I was just a day early. And in trading, that doesn't matter, right? I was wrong. If you get stopped out, you are wrong. But anyways, it did move to the upside, so I did get the move I wanted to see. However, it didn't liquidate the top side of the range, which is odd. And then it starts to slowly trade back down. So, yeah, very, very weird price action here. I would have anticipating a run back up into this area. Rejection from here. That didn't happen. So we're definitely in price discovery here. And with Bitcoin trading already today under yesterday's low, is this the target? Or is it about to bottom out here? We'll find out. We'll find out as soon as the bell kicks off here in just a few moments. So my favorite trade obviously will be silver shorts, and that is obviously only if, because the open interest is paying the longs right now, that only works if the dollar breaks out. And since the dollar is right now liquidating last week's high, not last week's, but the week prior to that, it could roll over here. Dollar is still structured bearish in terms of moving averages on the daily time frame. You're still bearish on the year. You're right at the year open on the DXY. I got it marked as Jan open. It needs to be yellow and just 2026. So we have potential setups happening right now. So obviously I was watching the dollar down here. I wanted to see a breakdown, but I can see why the dollar bulls would buy this level, because you have a midterm election coming up. This is a conspiracy theory, right? Conspiracy theory alert, conspiracy theory alert. The current administration does not want the markets to sell off right before the midterm elections. So if the dollar does break down and that gives the yen strength, that could cause a dollar yen carry trade unwind, which would then force sellers in Nvidia and, everybody that took that trade. It could unwind all that. Now you could see the stock market collapse if this was to roll over. So I could see dollar bulls saying there's no way the administration is going to allow that, even though Donald Trump himself wants lower dollar. He just isn't aware of, if you get what you want, you might get something else that you don't want. And then you take into account that the interest rates are being cut right now. We're in a rate cutting regime. That is also weak for the dollar. The macro does kind of support a lower dollar. So that puts a very heavy short side bias on the dollar. It makes total sense to me that this thing will go up to smoke all the sellers. So I don't know that it's going to roll over here. I'm just saying, if you're looking for dollar short positioning, if you're trading under this level right here, you could, in theory, put that on. It would be a very easy trade to mitigate. I have on both positions. I am short on dollar yen, a little bit higher on the dollar yen trade, but it is from right here on the DXY. And then I put a long on USD CAD, basically to offset the sell side risk only on dollar yen, because I don't know what the dollar is going to do. Nobody does. But if I get stopped out of the dollar yen position, then I'll feel more like the dollar is looking for a big bullish break here. And it's acting like it wants to do that. It's already flipped to being bullish on the daily time frame. Right? It doesn't really look like it wants to continue that lower trend here. For me, the best place for it to roll over would have been here. And then I would have been more than okay with setting in dollar shorts. Now that we're trading up here, obviously the yearly opening range is going to be a bigger level than just a weekly swing high. But in terms of liquidations, in terms of where all the stop losses are for dollar shorts, you've already got those. So what is the purpose of it moving any higher? Because it's going higher, we have to assume people bought it at monthly support, and now it wants to retest higher prices. So yeah, but I need this to happen in order for me to short silver. All right, bell's getting ready to ring in just a little bit. I already have this silver short position on. Here is a look at all the positions that I'm currently holding. Let's just give them a little refresh here and see if that works. This is going to be an internet issue most likely, because I can see it here showing me that my network is a bit slow this morning. Anyways, going back up here. So I currently do have the silver position on. Like I said, I am looking for shorts on the silver asset from 4-hour supply. So that's where I'm looking for the short. Stop loss is just going to be a little bit higher, right? A little bit higher. If it trades above my entry for any amount of time, I'll probably exit this short and then look to take it again up here if it gets up here and fails. But I won't put the risk on instantly as it's trading up. For me, in order for this to be a short, it needs to roll over and start heading lower pretty damn soon, or it's going to feel more like a long. But anyways, Tesla, I have a short on from yesterday there, and then Fartcoin, there is the short that I'm holding there. So those are the current open positions. We'll go take a look at Tesla real quick. So basically, I was just looking for the short on Tesla yesterday as it traded back up into resistance. On the 5-minute, it was a very, very weird, difficult trade because coming into the open yesterday, we kind of had a bearish bias on Tesla. But because Tesla refused to go lower for like 30 minutes, that bias had to be flipped. The same thing happened to Nvidia. The same thing pretty much happened market wide. The market opened, it showed weakness as its hand, but then couldn't go down. Whenever you see that, you have to be cautiously bearish. But you can see what happened. It just exploded to the upside. It liquidated the pre-market highs and then really couldn't get a bullish trend going. And then it dropped off right at the end of the day. So coming into today, you have a lot more of a bearish feel in the market, and people are going to be looking for shorts. If you look at the daily chart, you rejected your 21 exponential moving average. You came back in Friday for a retest. It failed. You had a gap down, push lower. On Tuesday, yesterday, we gapped up a little bit, pushed higher, and rejected. Now we're gapping down. Very difficult to trade. Very difficult. But I shorted it up on the day high. You were trading right up into daily res. So I got short there because the structure on the near term is very bearish. All right. And also, the weekly 21 exponential is up here too. So you can see right there. So these two orange lines, one marks the daily, one marks the weekly. You're about to get to the point to where the daily 21 is going to cross the weekly 21. That signifies weakness on the near term. It's not like a perfect bearish signal. Like, I don't know if you should be shorting it based on that alone, but it does signify that there is weakness. You bounced off the 200 exponential and the 2025 yearly open, but down here is the range lows. November's low. If you break down under November's low, you could see a sizable sell-off all the way down to 325. That is the low of the range. So this is the very, very important level for Tesla to not break. And that is pretty much the same on Nvidia because that's where we bounced really strongly last week. You're trading just here in a multi-month range. And these lows right here, also November's low, you break that, you could see a larger move down to like 150. So this still looks very bullish. Very bullish for the month of February. There is 8 days left on this candle. If this candle closes like this, seeing how you closed like this last month with the big wick down and then close up, that is a hammer candle. It is typically looked at for bullish trend continuation. So it does look very bullish. It does look like it wants to go higher on the long term because you got down to support and had a massive bounce. It was a lower high bounce, but the bounce was very aggressive. So we'll see what happens today. Should be fun. We make sure everybody in the comments is good or in the chat. Good morning, champ. Scalps all day, every day. These red days, music is not too loud. Thank you so much, S. Gunzier. I appreciate that. Music not that overwhelming. Awesome. Music's okay. Awesome. Thank you. Higher highs, higher lows is bad. No, I meant to say lower highs, lower lows. My bad. My brain does not work as good as it used to. I apologize. When I was referring to Bitcoin, every day this week it's been a lower high, lower low. Lower high, lower low. I said higher, I meant lower. Yeah, it is very bad when you're making lower highs and lower lows on an asset that you want to be bullish, right? If you're bearish on Bitcoin, then obviously this is what you want to see. It is doing what you want, right? Because you're short. But lower highs, lower lows, not good for bullish entries. Higher highs and higher lows is what you want to see. You want to see the opposite of what you're seeing here. Yeah, right now it doesn't look that great. Yeah, things are looking really, really strange out there. The macro is difficult right now. I see mixed views on both sides when I go look at macro analysts, what they have to say. You know, people that are smart, they actually had an education in economics and they are much better at macro analysis than I am. So I follow those people. I am as good as anybody else out there in the world when it comes to price action analysis. So I don't need to follow anybody for price action analysis. I do have a few people that I follow that I respect. I do respect their opinions. I do follow them. But most of the people that I follow are macro analysts. And they're very much split right now. They're very much split. So things are a little bit sideways and messed up out there. We kind of assumed that the bond market would bounce, and it is bouncing. Some macro analysts think that is bearish for the markets. Other macro analysts think that is bullish for the markets, right? I know one thing, the bond market just continuously, I know that sound is loud, I get it. Just the bond market going down all the time, that is not good for the United States of America. Because a lot of people have their money tied up in these assets. Now you can see since the pandemic, it lost its bullishness. It was bullish on the macro, right? This is a monthly chart. This thing usually just trends higher. But in 2020, that all changed because they started printing so much money. Well, you've been down here on the lows for so long, people thought it was going to break down. I was one of them. But here in the last few months, we were looking at this little structure here and we wanted to see it continue. But the last 2 months were bearish. But now this month, you can see that that breakout is happening. It is occurring. So if you're holding longs, I guess you're okay. But just keep in mind, you just liquidated this monthly swing high and you're showing signs of rejection, signs of failure. Maybe you should take profits if you're long from down here, right? It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm no longer in it. I was pushed out. I was pushed out. So here we go on the bell. We're not seeing heavy selling pressure this morning on Bitcoin yet. We're not seeing heavy selling pressure on the ES 500 either yet. Still range bound. I think what happens with the dollar is going to be important today. So someone told me last week that they were looking for shorts on the euro, and I basically ridiculed them, and so I wouldn't be looking for shorts on the euro because shorts on the euro doesn't make sense. It's been trending up for the last 3 months. Well, if that person shorted the euro where they were asking me if they could, they're up right now. they're doing pretty damn good because it literally rolled over right from that level that they were asking if they could short it. All right. And that was this swing high right here. So if we drop this white line over here, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, you can see that it traded right up in there and failed. And now you're back down to the yearly open. So this goes to show you, even though you think you know what's going to happen, you don't, which I don't never act like I think I know what's going to happen. I just simply said that obviously, if you're making higher highs and higher lows, taking a short up here would be a counter trend. Doesn't mean it won't work. It's just counter trend. But yeah, that trade is obviously working out. And that person probably should start thinking about taking some profits here. Yearly opening range, could see a bounce. Dollars at key place. The dollar does liquidate that swing high and reject, then I would think this would be a buy. Looking at it on the monthly, it still looks okay for upside continuation. You're just retesting last month's open, which is an area that I could be a buyer at. So if this 3-month trend is going to continue of higher highs, higher high, higher high, then I would be looking for that to continue this, maybe not this month because there's only 8 days, but next month. So right here, key area for the euro, key area for the dollar, key area for the VIX, everything is at like key areas. If silver fails to roll over, it's going to feel like the dollar wants to break out. I mean, sorry, if the silver does roll over, it'll feel like the dollar wants to break out. If silver refuses to roll over, that could indicate that the dollar is going to roll over. So if you're looking at silver and you want to be long in this range instead of short, because you have basically gotten back above some averages here on the very near term. On the daily, you're still bearish. On the near term, right? The 21 is above price. That usually indicates more weakness than strength. Silver's retested last week's open, and that's where it rejected. So that's kind of why I have a slight bearish bias here. But you just liquidated this low. So this, if it bounces here, which is where you could, in theory, be a buyer if you have a bullish bias on silver. If it bounces here, you're probably going to get a run back up to 79.54. But you're going to need the dollar to reject these highs in order for that to happen. So you would have to almost have a bearish bias on the dollar to have a long bias on silver. Things are going to play out whatever we think. So Fartcoin is at trendline support. But if you look at it on the weekly, I mean, it looks bad. It looks rough. Last week's low all the way down here to 16.58. We're at 18 now. But it hasn't been a smooth, easy trade on Fartcoin. I mean, I got short here on Sunday, and that's basically where I've left it. So for me, it was. But when it was in this range, it was not, right? This day was not easy either. I got stopped out the first time I tried to short it. Dollar CAD is still breaking out. I think that is important for silver trades. Here's dollar CAD on this side. Here's dollar yen on this side. Oh, yeah. You're into the 200 exponential here. You've made a fresh day high, not once, but twice. So it does feel like the dollar wants to break out if you're looking at dollar CAD. Dollar bull, like dollar strength is not good for Bitcoin, in my opinion. I wanted the dollar to break down. I thought that could potentially help Bitcoin put in a floor. But it looks like it wants to trade lower. You're still trading under yesterday's low. Well, right here is yesterday's low. I'll just put another line up there. So it's a big level, right? If it starts to trend under that. This is 4-hour res up here. It's just an old 4-hour support. It was 4-hour support, support, and then it broke. Bam. You went back up. You didn't quite retest it. So if Bitcoin bounces from here, this would be my upside target. I wouldn't anticipate it getting hit today, but it could. If it breaks down from this low, then obviously I have a downside target of 65.08. Oh, me holding a short on Fartcoin is how I'm trading Bitcoin. Unfortunately, Bitcoin can't get any bullish momentum. Every time it does get even a little bit, it gets faded. All right, got a little bit, and then that got faded. So whenever I see that, that's not good. And then you can look at this chart up here, and you can see why it can't sustain any bullish pressure. Everything is red, red, red. Crypto fear and greed, terrible. Capital flows, terrible. Recent spending and new investor profitability, both terrible. So people don't have a good... You want these things to be green, 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 green. But, I mean, these are the times that bigger, smarter, like more long-term investors are going to be looking to accumulate lows, obviously. They want to buy when everybody else is afraid to buy. But the herd right now, not buying. The herd is absolutely running for the fence. Bitcoin is going to zero if you ask the herd. In fact, I just saw on a video just this morning that they researched Bitcoin going to zero on Google, and Google Trends show that like 4 days ago, it got the biggest spike in like 2 years. BTC going to zero. So obviously the herd is assuming that Bitcoin is going to zero. And that's when the smart investors are going to be stacking, right? They're going to be filling up their coffers because they have the opportunity to do so when everybody is selling. In order to buy, you need to have a seller. And that brings this up real fast. Give me 1 second. Right here, this thing. No music, because I don't know. Right, I don't know. But this is my favorite part of this little indicator here. It basically just shows who holds the Bitcoin, who's been buying over the entire time of Bitcoin from May 2015, from the start, right? We're in 2015 now, but you can just see the dates are just rolling along as individuals keep coming in here and scooping up all the Bitcoin. Governments aren't interested right now. You don't have any ETFs in the mix yet. You don't have any companies in the mix yet. So it's just basically people that know about Bitcoin. It isn't, now you can see a little bit of growth on the government side, right? 1.5%. But once it gets over into 2024 and beyond, you see that more companies, more government buying, more companies buying, and more ETFs buying. Well, in order for them to do that, these people that own the majority of the share, here they come. See how those numbers are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on? The only way that can happen is if these people are selling to them. So now you're seeing the large portion of this pie is now being scooped up by governments, companies, ETFs, and funds. They are buying when individuals are scared. So, yeah, that to me is very bullish long-term for Bitcoin. I have a very long window when I'm thinking about investing in Bitcoin. 10 years, always. So I do want to be long Bitcoin, but just not with leverage, because I understand that Bitcoin could make fresh lows anytime now. I don't think you're going to get down there in like a week unless some really serious risk off kicks up. As long as risk isn't off, yeah, I don't see Bitcoin breaking down. It's going to be in price discovery for a long time, probably. It could be months before this low is resolved, if it ever gets resolved. This was a capitulation. It might not be the capitulation, but it is definitely a capitulation. We've looked at so many metrics, so many data points that say, yes, this was definitely a capitulation. It could end up being the cycle low. We don't know that it will, but it could be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The dollar CAD still pushing up. Silver still trading under 4-hour supply. The asset that I'm actually looking at looks different than this. It is this one right here. because obviously I'm trading silver, the tokenized version of silver, which is settled in USDT. So this is what I'm looking at as far as wanting to be short from here. It still looks like the near-term trend has shifted as it bounced off the yearly opening range. Obviously, I see the yearly opening range is up here on this product, but on the main silver product, that's what caused this bounce, was the yearly open. So I'm only taking the trade on this because of where the dollar is. If the dollar fails, then I don't want to be short silver. And the dollar is not failing here. Also, oil is on the run. We haven't looked at oil yet. Let's go look at oil real quick. Oil is it can be looked at as inflationary or recessionary. It can be looked at as both, right? If oil is going up, it signifies fear in the markets. And oil is on the rise. If you look at it on the monthly, last month was a pretty solid rip. I mean, 1 month took out 1, 2, 3, almost 4 months worth of highs. And this month you retested the midpoint and bounced. Now, this entire bounce happened yesterday because it put in a bear trap right here. Yesterday it bounced. Bam. Today you're seeing an upside continuation move. This kind of makes me feel like the dollar's breakout that it's doing today is kind of legit. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, obviously, but it just feels like as long as that bullish pressure stays in oil, I think I would have to have more of a near-term bullish bias on dollar. But we'll see. We'll see, because this is not rolling over. Not yet. It is absolutely getting wicked up here, and I don't like that. I want to see it break down, close under these wicks. If you can't close under these wicks, that does signify buying pressure. And like I said, right now the sellers are paying the longs in terms of the spread. Now it's not a lot. They're not paying a lot. It's a very cheap, but they still are paying the funding rate. It's very cheap. And it's every 8 hours. But still, I mean, if you plan on setting in silver for a long time, then you could make a generous amount of money based on the funding rate. Right now, there are 0 fees on gold and silver trading on this platform, which is weeks. There's a link in the description if you want to trade on it. Don't keep more money than you're willing to lose on exchange. But it does look like Tesla's rolling over a little bit, and Fartcoin is probably bouncing with Bitcoin. So let's go look at Tesla and Nvidia and see what they're doing at the open here. Yeah, I would probably have more of a bearish bias based on this price action. But if you were using these moving averages to give you trading entries or whatever, you wouldn't be able to because they're too spread apart. When these get really spread apart far, you tend to see snapbacks, right? But what I would love to see is if Tesla can fail going higher up in here, I'll still hold the short. Because yesterday's low, right? We want to see it trade. We want to keep trading under yesterday's low. We want to see that bearish pressure stay on it. S&P bouncing as well. Refusing to go lower right now. Let's see what's doing on the cash market. It did have a gap down on the cash market. So right here is going to be huge resistance. Bitcoin is a doji on the day. So the VIX did spike up a little bit higher. You are trading above last week's close, but you're not trending above last week's close. The market just opened. Obviously, you've got all day to suss this stuff out. Just trying to get see what's going on here on the near term, as scalpers are definitely looking for longs. So I'm going to take profits on Farcoin if it starts to trade back up into 1872. I'm going to close this short because I want to keep the majority of the unrealized gains that I have on Farcoin. It's a very small position size. I should have been able to take profits on this days ago. But that was my fault. I do that quite often, actually. Anyways, yeah, Tesla's kind of trying to suss out resistance here, and then Nvidia trending lower. This is a little bit closer together. The 200 is above price, so bears are going to be looking to take part in today's trading. Same scenario, you're currently under yesterday's low. So if the bears can keep that up, it's just hard for me to get super bearish on the risk markets when the VIX is up so much. But when you have volatility up like this, you can absolutely see bigger downside moves. And volatility has been slowly creeping up every single week for the past 8 weeks. Higher close, higher close, higher close, higher close. It does kind of feel like something big is about to come. But if it doesn't, I don't want to be too off sides. I don't want to have everything looking for bearishness, right? Good morning, traders, says Janet. Good morning, Janet. Heath, I took a silver short at 78.61 before 4 hours. My stop is 80.80. My target is 71.62. Thoughts? So you have a 2-cent stop loss, and then you have a 8.48 point target profit. So you have basically like a 4-to-1 risk to reward there. I'm not exactly sure why you took that trade or what you were looking at to justify that profit target, but I can look at where your entry is, which is 78.61. So it looks like you got in roughly right in that area, right in here. You said specifically your stop was 80.80, so just above the yearly opening range. Yeah, I mean, you have this 4-hour moving average under price. You also have the 8-hour moving average under price. So the problem with the short is going to be this candle. This candle dominates today's range. So in order for shorts to work out, you're definitely going to need to see prices down under this low. So if you set in the trade for any amount of time today, like hours, and you're still trading above this price, which is 77, what is it? 77.17. If you're trading above that, your short might be wrong, because this is a pullback, right? This is just a pullback. Expansion, pullback. Expansion, pullback. So right now, the very near-term trend is the bulls have it, right? They are in control of order flow. You would need to see the dollar break out and sustain a bullish rally in order for your $71 target to get hit. So I see what you're doing. Essentially, you're looking to enter a range-bound trade, and you're looking at this is the high of the range, this down here is the low of the range. Generally, I'm only looking for something like that or this. So I'm anticipating a short to take place here at this high. I want to enter the short there, and I want this to be my take profit. But I'm using 20x leverage and very tight stops, right? because I'm just scalping. What you have going on is more like a swing style trade. And it is possible. Okay, BCH is testing a target that, or an area that I wanted to look at right here, right now. So if BCH can fail here, I want to enter a short position on BCH. It's up, had a nice big bullish pop. It's been obviously in price discovery here for a while now. But you can see the last 3 days, it has been trending lower. So if I can get a retest of the weekly open and a failure there, that's key, a failure, then I will open a new short on BCH. I don't have anything against BCH, right? It could be the true Bitcoin for all I know. It's a technical pattern. Last month was a breakdown and a close under support. This month, as long as it's trading under the yearly opening range, I have to be short. It's just, that's it. That's all there is to it. It's no love or hate. Has nothing to do with it. So if it can stay under the weekly open, I will be looking for the short, but I understand obviously that there's more bullish pressure on this asset than there is bearish pressure. At least when it comes to moving average structure. So I do like that it has lost that. That's just it alerting me again. So yeah, I want to be looking for shorts up here. If it can get up here and fail. And then on the daily, let's see what we got going on there. So the daily today might not be a good trade on BCH because it's actually testing macro support, being the 200-day exponential and the 21-day. And you did just get a bullish cross of those two averages. So on the near term, this is more bullish than bearish. But on the very near term, if it can continue to reject this week's open, I can look for shorts. I don't want to put on a short down here. I want to put on a short up here because it makes it easier for me to mitigate my risk. If I put in a short down here and then it goes all the way up there, well, then it's just going to stop me out, right? So I definitely, there's still an hour and 4 minutes on this candle. Hopefully it doesn't just cut loose from here and start puking. If it does that, then I'll miss it. But I don't think it's going to. It might not even be a short. We have to see what the rest of these markets do here. Tesla is literally making fresh day highs. Nvidia is looking like it's getting ready to. But up here's where we want to see Tesla reject. If Tesla doesn't reject 410, then it could be looking to bounce. Could be looking to bounce, right? Bitcoin is also back to bullish on the day. VIX had a nasty rejection here. Look at this. It does feel like being bearish, these markets today is going to be the wrong side. Dollar is rejecting and silver is rejecting from going lower. Silver is literally trying to stop me out right now. So yeah, we'll see what Tesla does because I am short Tesla. If it breaks out above this and continues to trend higher, I'm short up here, so I still have plenty of room and I'm not going to get scared out of it from here. But silver has more bullish pressure on it, right? I actually thought about taking a long on silver this morning. It wasn't until I saw where the dollar was. I was actually looking to get long silver because the way I was looking at it, well, it was a bullish bounce off of the yearly opening range. And now that the funding rate is paying longs, that could put long side pressure on silver for people just trying to collect that premium or that funding rate. And it does look like the bulls are kind of in control of it here as it refuses to break down. This is a long time. You've been chopping sideways here for hours. You get up in here and start to rip, it's going to be too late for shorts. They're going to start getting smoked. That will cause near-term demand to flood this market. We're still not seeing the dollar reject yet on USD versus JPY and USD versus CAD, but it isn't trending up anymore. So it could be rejecting. You could potentially look to trade that as like a long on euro dollar or pound dollar. Let's see here. Apple down slightly, MSFT up, Nvidia down slightly, Amazon basically neutral, Google neutral, Meta neutral. They're all neutral. They're all neutral. All right, so euro dollar does not look like a long, right? But it is a massive objective level. Very simple to mitigate risk here. You're up on the year as long as you're above it. You're down on the year if you're below it. So you could simply get long right there. Put a stop 25, 30 pips under and just see what happens. Maybe the trade is better tomorrow. Pound looks weaker here, right? You're trading under the yearly opening range on pound. Does that make me super bearish? Not yet. Not yet. As I understand, that momentum can continue to push prices much lower. If pound rejects going lower down here, I could still have a near-term bullish bias. But it does make me wonder what's going on. Why can't it break out? You've been trying to break out for some time now. So this month could just be a pullback month. Next month you could see a rally. We'll see. If we take this low out, then we have to look at it and say, okay, resistance held up here. You know, maybe it wants to go lower. Pound does not really look good long term. This thing looks like absolute dog snot. It just goes down. So I can see why people would be selling it. And also a weak currency helps out Great Britain's economy. And the same can be said for the Eurozone. When the asset is weak, it's better for them economically speaking. I think this is I think these things are probably the reason why the dollar is having so many problems going lower. The sellers had the dollar right where they wanted it. They could have absolutely pushed it lower. Because they aren't. I have to ask myself why. So I don't love dollar shorts or pound longs and euro longs with this much momentum, bearish momentum. But if it can hold here for a few days, then maybe we could get long. We'll see what it does. We'll see what it does. But there's a lot of momentum. I try to avoid taking the position that day. I usually want to wait for the next day. Let some of this momentum wane. Let it subside a little bit. Then maybe look for a drop below today's low. And if you get a rejection there, you could potentially look for longs then. Or if this closes like an upside hammer candle or something, then you could just simply buy yearly opening tomorrow. We'll see what it does. Tesla coming into resistance still. Nvidia tagged it, not quite tagged it, but it feels like it wants to make a higher high. But we'll see if it rolls over here. Silver has not stopped me out yet. That dollar is trading back under that weak high. I'm actually going to see if I can find the VIX. Okay, so I do have the TradingView VIX up. So that VIX is on time. Yeah. If I look at the CVO VIX, I'll have a 15-minute delay. But if you look at the TradingView charts, there is no delay. TradingView kind of defeats their own purpose by doing that. Like if you're going to charge people for having real-time data and then just turn right around and give people real-time data for free, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Defeats the purpose of charging those other individuals. But I know a lot of people were interested in shorting Nvidia up at 189. I have a bearish bias on Nvidia as long as it's under here. My caution and concern is because of what happened at the range lows. Like I said earlier, we were short Nvidia going into last week. We did good, right? We were short and it traded down every single day. But then it got down here and bam, right back up. So yeah, this is a lower high, but this is also a higher low. So I would have to assume that the bulls are still in control of this thing from last week. But if you shorted it yesterday at the open today, you could have taken profits on that. A very near-term scalp. All right, now XAG is getting closer to stopping me out. So let's go back to silver. Yeah, I see how it's pushing here. This is not what I wanted to see. This is a trap. Feels like I'm on the wrong side of this thing. Yeah, dollar's starting to reject a little bit hard now. Starting to see a little bit of a rejection coming in here. It's a huge level, guys. It's a huge level. Sellers are going to be here. I don't know that they'll be right, but they will be here. Absolutely. It's where I would be putting on new short trades on the dollar. I'm not putting on any because I'm currently already short the dollar. But yeah, that is going to make it difficult for silver shorts to win if the dollar rolls over. Weak dollar, strong everything else that's trading against it. And silver does trade against the dollar. So we'll watch the 30-minute close. If we get a higher 30-minute close, I'll bail on that position. On that short position. We actually got a lower 4-hour close on the XAG, which is this. No, this is T. XAG USDT. This is a perpetual swap. On the XAG up here, this one you did get that lower close. Lower close, lower low. So if it can hold 78.50 as resistance, that would be good. Fix S&P all under resistance. So it feels like the downside could cut loose any minute now. We'll see. We'll see. Pre-market highs on Nvidia all the way up at 188.87. I don't know that you would get back up there. I'd say if you're short Nvidia right here, right now, based on the averages, I would probably say if you get above 88.50, you're probably wrong on that short. Probably wrong on that short. But if it rolls over here, hang on, because it could get exciting. Could get exciting. Could get exciting. I'm excited. I can't wait. Come on, roll over. I'm kidding. This thing's already rolled over plenty enough for me to close it. But I have fresh shorts on silver and Tesla today. Or yesterday on Tesla, today silver. I guess I could. Well, yeah, I don't love the short on Nvidia. The short on Nvidia doesn't make sense to me. It does because it's under the yearly open, right? But this structure is not good. However, this is clearly in a range. This is your 2026 data right here. This is all of 2026 data. Now, it does feel like it's got an inherent weakness in it, as it hasn't been able to spend much time this year trading above the yearly opening range. These two blocks of price here are the only times this year, really, that you could trade up there. All this stuff's all wicks. It does feel like there's some pretty heavy selling pressure in there. I just gotta ask myself, what is that? Holy cow. So moving averages are not very helpful in a choppy environment. And this is definitely the exact definition of a choppy environment. As long as you're below the yearly high, and as long as you're above the yearly low, you are in a yearly range. Choppy. And now it's going to be the day traders that start moving this thing around a little bit. But we know where the long-term buyers are, or at least where the short covering happens, and that's at the bottom of the range. Tesla's starting to see a little bit of resistance. Yeah, I'm starting to see USD CAD and USD Yen pull off the highs. That's kind of concerning for silver shorts, because these things are into resistance as well. You know what I mean? That's kind of the reason I haven't closed this short yet. Just make sure your risk is mitigated on the silver short, because we need a lot of things to kind of happen in order for that trade to work out. We're against the funding rate. We're against the dollar. We're against basically everything. The only thing that's with us would be the technicals, and that's only on the very near term, right? The daily, these technicals look good for a short on this chart. But yesterday's price action is not good. This is a reversal. It is a reversal. It is a higher high and a higher close. So this would be a bear trap. So trying to short silver one day after it put in a bear trap, not the best trade. But we'll see if it works or not. Waiting for that higher 30-minute close to get out. So Nvidia could close higher. It just not up here. Up here, I'd be concerned for Nvidia shorts. If it closes higher and then grinds sideways for like 20 minutes, that would look good for shorts. But if it continues to trend, that is not what you want to see. And there's no like daily res. There's no, yesterday's close is about it, right? It's the only level that you got to kind of mitigate risk. You haven't really tested it yet, but it's not even yesterday's close. So I don't know why that 5-minute candle's close is 187.88 when the daily close is 187.98. It's a 10-cent discrepancy from daily to intraday. I don't like that, but TradingView ain't that expensive. But if you're listening, TradingView, you could fix that. Wherever this candle closes, that's where the daily close should be. That is your 1555 candle. So if it closes at that price, but it ain't just TradingView that does this. It's also Tasty Trade also does it. I don't understand why that is, but whatever. Yeah, it's not going to give me my entry. I can't chase it. Like I said, I need it to tag this level. If I don't get it, I don't get it. It's all good. Hype did break down here, and it did make a lower low finally. So, yeah, I mean, it isn't cut and loose. I think what happened to Hype is all the people that were interested in the longs and shorts have left because it spent so much time in price discovery. It literally lost all the volume. We go look at the daily volumes, you can see how this thing is like insanely crazy through here and then drops off a cliff through here. And that's why we quit trading it. If that volume comes back, then I'll get interested again, but it's just, yeah, when it's choppy like that, it's a difficult trade. As technical levels aren't really respected. The trend line was clearly. It was respected. Right here you put in a little bit of a trap, but moving forward, I would want to see this area act as resistance. If you break out back to the upside of this, then either the triangle is wrong or there just ain't enough volume. There's not enough extra volume to give a good trading setup. Therefore, it ain't doing anything. Farcoin's starting to reject here. That's a good reaction. Tesla looks like it's trying to break out. Back to the upside. Nvidia is trending back to the upside here. So I don't feel good with that happening. Could that be like one final stop run on today's shorts? Maybe, but kind of feels like the buyers still have this thing. You know, S&P kind of put in this 30-minute buy where you broke out in the last session and now you're kind of holding support at 68.57. I want to see it break back under that price. If it can do that, I'll feel okay for shorts. But it doesn't look like it's going to do that. This candle did open a long time ago. It doesn't feel like heavy selling pressure. What is the green line on Bitcoin? It's the weekly VWAP. Are you, wait, okay, so this is obviously a trend line. This right here is 4-hour support. It's just 4-hour support, and there's your breakdown. So that's resistance. This green line right here is the weekly volume weighted average price, which just signifies that price is weak. If the volume average price is trending above price, then price is weak on the weekly range. Generally, when that's happened, the shorts do, or at least you can say at this point, have been winning all week. It's right here. I watch the weekly and monthly VWAPs because I want to know what price is doing inside of those ranges prospectively. If price is trending above the monthly VWAP, then that tells me that the buying pressure, at least when it comes to volume, has been heavier than the selling pressure. So in this scenario, Bitcoin is very, very weak. But if you want to put it on your chart, it's over here on forecasting and measurement tools, and it's right here, anchored VWAP. And you just simply put it on the weekly open and the monthly open, and you can track it. It's similar to a moving average, but it's not the same as, I mean, they're pretty damn close together, the 21 and weekly VWAP. And generally the VWAP will have a big move like on at the beginning, and then it'll kind of slowly just drift, right? It's a volume average. It's not a price average. It's a volume average, not a price average. Yeah, it just kind of lets me see exactly who's in control of price or who has been in control of price. Because that can always change. You could get a massive bullish candle today and change everything, right? One big ass bullish candle will change a lot of things. It doesn't mean you'll see any continuation from it, but it would definitely feel a lot better to the buyers to see at least some kind of bullish pressure. If we look at delta, the cumulative volume deltas, you can see that there's only been one really strong bullish day since Bitcoin's been trading in this range. Look at how pathetic the volumes have been. Very pathetic, just hanging around the neutral line. When we see strong deltas, that gives us a good directionality. Good directionality. You just don't, you're not seeing the buyers in here. When I have, like when I'm seeing a strong trend in place, I want to see many days that look like this. Give me like 2 or 3 days of strong bullish volumes, and then I can say, okay, I want to probably be on the buy side. Right now you're on the nobody side. This is like what we saw in December. We saw this exact pattern in December. So I don't know what's going on. People are waiting. They're waiting for a few things. They're waiting for that crypto bill to be passed. They're waiting for a few other things. So not heavy volumes. Plus, anybody who has been trading Bitcoin this year has already been wrecked. You've already wrecked so many people. So now it's intraday traders controlling order flow. Intraday traders aren't enough to generate long sustained trends. You need big order flows for that. So that's like, that's the only kind of volume that I care about, really. And I don't even really care about this, but it is helpful to help identify daily biases, especially if you're trying to be a daily scalper. If you're just looking for like swing trades and that, you won't really need this indicator. You do kind of want the VWAP though, at least on a monthly basis. You want to track each month's VWAP. So when we open a new monthly candle, I will delete this line because we're in a new month, new order flow, new news, new everything, right? I don't care about last month. Last month's in the books. It's done. It's over. Now we're in a new month. New things are going to happen. New trades are going to be placed based on new evolving macro events. So every month I delete last month's VWAP or just bring it over and set it on the new month. That's why you don't see a million of them on my chart, right? You only see one. From February's open, and as soon as we open March, it will get moved over to March. And I do that every week as well. Every week as well. I mean, it's a pretty good, like if you're looking for intraday scalps, generally speaking, you want to be in the direction of the order flow that has basically produced the weekly range. So if you're bullish on the week and you're making fresh weekly highs like all week long, it doesn't really make sense to be looking for bearish trades and vice versa. If you've been making fresh weekly lows all week long, it doesn't really make sense to look for bullish entries unless you're at like a long-term macro level that could shift narrative and biases. Long-term levels can do that. So even though Bitcoin has been bearish all week, it isn't like bearish. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of bearish. Very thin bearish, like very easy bearish. When the bears are like afraid for their life, no technical indicator is going to help it. No macro level is going to help it. Price will just blast right through all of it. Which is that's why it is so dangerous to buy a falling knife. Because if that fear comes back, the fear has not left. The fear has not gone anywhere. It is literally still here. Right there. You are still single digits, heavily in the red, and have been for a couple months now. It's once everybody no longer cares about Bitcoin, that's when it'll rally, probably. When nobody's looking at it, nobody cares about it, they've been bored out of their gourd for weeks. That's when Bitcoin will haul ass and start repricing higher. Or at least that's what we hope if we have a long-term bullish bias on it. The silver's still just chopping here. It's kind of boring. It does feel like it wants to go higher though, so probably gonna E to stop here. But the dollar hasn't broken down yet. It started to, but it still hasn't broken down yet. You're probably going to need to see a pretty heavy sustained sell side pressure because this has been very bullish the last few days. If the dip buyers come in here and pick it up, then the silver trade should work. But that's what we need to have, and we need dollar bulls to come in here and scoop this thing up, run it back above those highs, and then we could see silver roll over. Tesla's still sussing out the upside here. Nvidia finally starting to roll over at yesterday's low, or yesterday's close, I should say. That's good. That's a good sign. But it's still, the more time it spends shopping up here, it's going to be a bad sign because it'll give the average time to get underpriced and start to act as support. If the sellers are here, we want to see them push this market back down aggressively. Generally, the bulls slowly grind price unless it's super bullish, but generally speaking, it's a slow move up. When the bears are in control, it's usually vicious and quick. Yesterday was just a mixed day. You didn't see heavy buy side or sell side. It was just a mixed day. Today is just a mixed day. S&P still very much holding intraday support. Altcoin and Bitcoin have come off the intraday swing highs. So there must have been Yeah, there's a missing candle in there. There's a missing few candles in there. What's up with that? They're not missing in Coinbase. Dude, we want to see Nvidia and Tesla do this. What Bitcoin is doing. What Fartcoin is doing. Give them bulls for today a little bit of hope and then grind it right back down in their face. That will exhaust the buy side pressure eventually, and people will stop trying to buy it, and then that's when price will rally. Because sometimes I feel like it isn't buyers and sellers, like active buyers and sellers, that's moving price around. Price is being moved around in search of active buyers and sellers. So when you see a big repricing, it could just simply be price moving higher to look for supply. When it drops, it could be looking for demand. Instead of, there was a big buyer right here and he moved price. Yeah, I don't think so. Could be, but I don't think so. Once price gets exhausted, once supply gets exhausted or demand gets exhausted, then you will see a repricing mechanism kick in, and then price will go look for whatever side was exhausted. But if you exhaust the supply here, then price will move up looking for supply. And then when it finds a big chunk of it, it'll go back into price discovery. But we know people are absolutely putting buy orders down here based on just the simple fact it's a trend line support level. And unfortunately, that's how retail trades. They look for levels and then they put orders in and around those levels. Sometimes just waiting one day, instead of like trying to buy Fartcoin here today because it's testing it today, sometimes just waiting one day before you do anything is actually a good thing. Because here, I'll tell you why. What if it closes down in here today? It's not going to look like a buy tomorrow, right? But if it doesn't, then maybe tomorrow you could try. Just be patient, especially if you're watching objective levels and subjective levels. Just be very, very patient. All right, so silver is stopping me out. It is running up. Kind of concerning, or at least for dollar longs. So there's that close above, and up she goes. So it doesn't feel like the sellers are winning. You could still find resistance here, but I'm not going to throw another sell on it just because it's testing that. For me, it feels like it would have already started to head lower if it was going to be a sell. We're an hour into the market's open here. So the fact that it isn't rolling over, and the fact that if you just look at it on like a larger time frame, you can see that this is nothing more than just a pullback retest candle. It's retesting the prior ranges open, and it held. It's backing off of that. So it feels like it wants to keep going in the direction that it has been going. It doesn't mean it will, but kind of feels like that's kind of why I was wanting to get long this morning. But because the dollar was literally breaking out, I was like, well, maybe it's going to keep breaking out. But it is a liquidation level, so it could roll over there also. We're not seeing heavy sell-side pressure in any of the risk markets just yet. The only place that we're even seeing slight selling is in the crypto markets. And that could stop. That could stop. Remember, the bears have been in control of Bitcoin's price for months now. That will stop. It won't just keep going down, 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 down. It will start going back up soon. Markets rotate. Capital rotates. You got so overextended to the downside. It's just a matter of time before this thing has a rip your face off rally. And it will be so brutal and violent that people will not even know what hit them. And I've kind of been looking to put that on, but at the same time, if I was trading my strategy the way a computer would or an algo would, you just have to be a seller right now. Until you get some kind of evidence to support a bullish theory, as long as you don't have any of that evidence, it does kind of make it a hard buy for a trader, for an intraday trader. Now, if you're looking for long-term holds, no leverage, none of that. You just want to buy Bitcoin for a price expansion 5 years, 10 years from now. This is absolutely where you should be buying. And then if it goes lower, slowly get more. Like, that's how you basically invest. But for everyday scalps, it's hard for me to be a buyer. It's so weak. But this is the level that we were looking at last week, right? And it did hold as support. So it does make sense that it could hold as support again. This level is just 4 hour. 4 hour. It's not even 4 hour support. Right here is the 4 hour support I'm referring to. So old support acting as resistance, but not really good. Like, that wasn't a very big move down. If you look at Bitcoin today, it's only down 0.25%. It is not like severely down. It is barely down. This week has been a very slow week. The VIX was pricing in a very big range because it closed up so high last week. But you can see how the VIX is literally rejecting last week's close. The VIX is looking kind of weak here, looking kind of heavy. Looks like the vol sellers have finally found their place to put on risk. It's a huge level. If the VIX closes under this level this week, it'll be the first time in like 6 weeks that it's a lower close. This was the last time you got a lower close on the weekly on the VIX. All the way down here. Every week since here has been a higher close, higher close, higher close, higher close, higher close. So it did feel like the VIX was about to make a big move. And it still feels like the VIX is about to make a big move. However, doing this for so long, it's also very hard for me to have a sell side bias on the risk markets up here. Because if you look at the VIX, like when it does get big spikes, it doesn't maintain them very long. Because this market is usually bullish. It usually goes up. Over time, it usually goes up. Look at what it's doing right now. Support held. And you got a big giant spike. So it looks like the buyers have control of price this morning. We can go and look at Nvidia and Tesla. They're probably not working out for sellers. They are not. That's a fresh day high on Nvidia. So you've been making fresh day highs here, a fresh day high here, and then another fresh day high here, and then another one here. It is trending up. The opposite of what the sellers want to see. Same thing on Tesla. It is trending up. Trend up at the beginning of the day, sell off at the end of the day. Sell off at the beginning of the day, trend up at the end of the day. Do nothing at the beginning of the day, slowly grind up. Big spike at the beginning of the day, instant sell off. So markets are chaotic, very difficult and totally impossible to predict. Impossible to predict intraday volatility. Yeah, silver is currently on the move here. It's trying to break out. So probably going to eat stops if you have a sell side bias on silver. You can see how these lows were insignificant. That's a good way to kind of see early if you're wrong or not. If you're not trending or pushing on lows and making fresh day lows, you're probably going to be wrong. The dollar is rejecting that level. See, these things are failing to push on highs. So if we go look at this on an intraday chart, it was very strong coming up into the level, and then it slowly loses that steam, that musto, that strength. And now, boom, 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 it's starting to roll over. Same thing here. It hasn't even made a fresh day high yet. This is your, what time is that? 1 a.m. Okay, so this candle right here is your high of day. So on USD JPY, you haven't even been able to make a high of day since the Asian session last night. So it's been chopping in here all day. Big resistance here, the 200. The 200 does a pretty good job of identifying trend on the 4, 8, 12-hour charts. 4-hour chart, 200 exponential. Not always. Sometimes you'll blast right through it, right? Sometimes you'll blast right through it. Oh, wait, that was right. Sometimes you'll blast right freaking through it, like you did on Euro. But this push down here isn't like a confirmation bearish move, right? At this point, it's just the liquidation of that swing low. So the 200 is still very much trending up. The 21 is coming back in. So if price just grinds this area out long enough and these two averages meet one another and then you get a bullish pop, the 21 will roll right back to the upside, and then you will still have your bullish trend intact. So even though it's under the average, it doesn't mean that you're kind of confirming a breakdown here. You have to actually break down below this low and then trend to confirm a breakdown. Just pushing under it, that's just a liquidation. And that's typically why I was like saying you could potentially look to be a buyer here today on Euro and pound. The dollar is at the place where if I was going to be selling it, I would be selling it. I've already sold it. But yeah, if I was going to be a seller because the trend says I should be, I would be looking to do that here. Now tomorrow and then the beginning of next week, where price is then, that will give me the bias that week. Then I'll be able to say, well, we did break out. We are trending higher. I do have a near-term bullish bias. But a failure here will be a high. It'll be a swing high failure, right? A swing failure pattern, which is very, very normal inside of Forex markets. Make people think you're going to break out and then drop right back into the range. Trading is difficult. You're never going to be able to predict price, but if you learn how to mitigate risk the correct way, you can do this stuff. It is very easy to do. I don't give a crap about losing trades. It doesn't bother me at all. It's just another rung on the ladder. It's the long term that matters. Hitting wins, big wins, small losses. That's how you grow an account. Yeah. So dollar, very, very pivotal level here for future price, it's going to basically dictate everybody's bias next week. This week, pretty much done. I mean, it's the midpoint of the week, but it was a 4-day week. So next week, if the dollar is trading under 97.82 or 97.98, people will probably be looking for shorts. But it has to close above it this week for people to change or shift their bias. There's still a big level above the dollar. The yearly opening range is still above it. So, I mean, the dollar's going to have to work here, and it's going to have to work here for a minute. This is on the USD JPY. This is just another lower high on the yearly range. So you can see how this asset has a lot of work to do to confirm bullish biases. Because there is your yearly data right there for 2026. That's it. So what have you done this year? Well, you made a higher high, then you made another higher high. So it looked like it was going to be an uptrending year for USD JPY. And then the US Treasury asked for prices, and that caused probably more of a knee-jerk reaction from some carry trade people. They unwinded their carry trades probably, and that caused a pretty heavy sell side action. Then you went right back up into the yearly opening range, set another lower yearly high, and then rolled over. So right now, the trend for USD JPY is bearish. It's bearish. And you're under the open. You're closer to the lows of the year than you are the highs of the year. You're going to have to change that in order to get buyers here. Now, this support build-in down here is huge, right? So I'm sure there are buyers down here. Obviously, there are buyers down here. The sellers, if they can do this, boom, then they can do that over here too, right? That they stop. They stopped on a dime. Why? Good question. I don't know the answer to that. But they just didn't feel like it was worth the risk. Well, up here, maybe they will again. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they will again. We'll see. That oil is still very bullish today. Oil is still trading up at daily highs. Oil is kind of curious where it is right now. Or at least for me it is. I know dollar and oil do not track one another, but I mean, they look a lot like each other. At least for a while here. They've been very, very sideways. Very choppy. So, like I said, it doesn't make sense to see, a heavy dollar yen breakdown, as that could threaten risk markets and make everybody bearish. So they could ease up off the dollar bear rhetoric until after midterms, and then after midterms they'll probably crank that rhetoric back up. Yes, we definitely want dollar down. So unfortunately, Forex market and all of these markets are very political. Very much politicized. I mean, hell, Pam Bondi made the meme of the year. The Dow is up. The Dow is up. That matters. We weren't asking you about the markets. We were asking you about We were asking you about cheese pizza woman, and you're talking about the Dow. What the hell is going on? The Dow is up. Heavily politicized. The Dow is up, therefore we do no wrong. Bitcoin finding intraday support here at a prior support level. At a prior support level. So I haven't bounced out of the Fartcoin short just yet. 12 minutes left on this close. If it closes under the prior 4-hour swing, I will continue to hold it. But if we close above it with that nasty wick under like that, and because it's an ascending trend line support, I will probably close it and just look to reposition this weekend or next week. Because longer term, it does look like it's trying to build in a bottom here. I don't know that it is, but it does look like it's trying to. Still very much bearish. It's bearish on the year. It's very much bearish. Right up here is your yearly open. This thing has been trending down for so long, it just feels like an up closing month is coming. You know what I mean? Every month since June of last year has closed down. It's been bad. We've been shorting this thing since $1.46. $1.46 was the first short I put on Farcoin in 2025. It makes sense to kind of wind that back a little bit, right? I have basically squeezed all of the juice out of this lemon that there is to squeeze. Of course, it could keep going. It could go to zero, but it's just so damn extended. So you got a reading of 36 on the RSI. This month was the first month you actually got that many months. We got our first reading and it is under 40. So it is heavily, heavily weak. Very, very weak. But you can see the volume's just not that big anymore. It's not that big anymore. There's been a few big volume days, right? But over here, nothing. It's like everybody's basically had enough. I haven't had enough. But yeah, I mean, it still looks like we could see a trending move today. Yesterday we got down in here, and that's, well, not just yesterday, it's since Monday. It's like 14 million has been the floor on sell side volumes. So we'll see if it could break down here and break down under that trend line. You probably would see a larger volume push, and we'll see if it does, but it's definitely struggling here to do that. I'm also keeping my eyes on silver. It hasn't broken out yet. Though I only lost $30 on the silver short. Where did silver go? Oh, I changed it for oil. We don't need to look at oil, but oil is breaking out right now. So that's kind of what gave me that maybe I should be a little bit more bullish biased the dollar today. Silver hasn't broken out yet. We'll see. All right. It does look like the dollar is rejecting, so I don't want to short silver if the dollar rejects. This is very confusing. The yearly open is only up here on this product, the perps. It is not up here on the actual XAG. The actual XAG doesn't look anything like this as far as candlesticks. All right. It's different. These candles are different because it has a different time that it opens and closes. But yearly open is right here. That's what caused silver to be bullish. It looks like it's holding support. So I don't love the silver shorts. But it is holding resistance too. So it could just be choppy the rest of the day. We'll see. Yeah, very choppy. Just stop me out, essentially. Good for you, silver. You bastard. BCH, come on up here and give me that short side setup. Tesla's struggling, but it's probably going to go soon. It's probably getting ready to go up. Unless you see a sizable sell-off, I will probably be closing that short. Nvidia finally starting to roll over a little bit here. Now the bears look like they're showing up a little bit. Oh, VIX, where did you go? Where are you at? Yeah, VIX is struggling to break down. You're going to need the VIX moving up if you want to see the sell pressure show up here in these markets. I honestly have a bearish bias on the markets right now because of the rise or the ascending wedge formation. It's not an ascending wedge, sorry. It's a megaphone. You've got higher highs and higher lows. I mean lower lows, higher highs and lower lows in this yearly range. So it's just it's a broadening wedge. And those are topping formations. That is what happened to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin rolled over. The fact that Bitcoin did roll over kind of makes me a little bit hesitant on being long risk right now, because Bitcoin usually leads the risk markets. It's kind of odd that it's been leading for so long, but we are seeing capital flight to other areas. But because the S&P just usually trends up, it does make it hard to be very bearish. But on the near term, I do have more of a bearish bias. That yearly opening range is a big level. And if Farcoin is leading the way for us here, we could be getting ready to see risk markets break down, and that would be fun. So let's go, Tesla. Roll over, biatch. Let's go. Tesla is testing resistance here, so I like it. Let's go. Roll over, baby. It's time for you to roll over. You know you want to. It maybe wants to run the liquidity from pre-market highs. I don't know. That would piss a lot of shorts off. Anybody that's tried to short Tesla today gonna get so mad if it runs up here, liquidates that, and then rolls over. Oh, that would be horrifying. S&P still holding support. S&P doesn't look like it's about to break down. Farcoin does, but S&P does not. I like to see that increasing in volume on the lows. Let's go. Break down. And then I will be watching, after the stream is over, I will be watching BCH for a short side setup if it can refuse to go higher up here at the weekly open. The best trade on, I mean, in hindsight, obviously, was up here, clearly, but I wasn't watching it then, and back then it looked more bullish than bearish. This breakdown right here, that's what I wanted to see. Now that I've gotten that, this candle is going to close here in 2 minutes. So if the next candle, let me make it white so it looks like the chart. If the next candle can open up, let's say it opens here right at the close. If this thing can open, push up, and then reject right here and here, I'd be willing to put on a short, because what I would want to see is the candle that looks like this. Beautiful, right? So I am very interested in watching this zone right here in the next session. Give me that wick, baby. Give me that wick and then fail. So keep BCH on the watch list. I am not really interested in shorts if BCH is trading above that. So that literally means if it's up in here, I don't want to be looking for shorts. Yes, it could reject off 4-hour supply, but I want to see the sellers hit it right freaking here. Right here. I don't want to have to wonder, is this thing going up to make a fresh day high? Now, obviously, if Bitcoin changes its directional bias today and ends up closing as a big, strong, bullish day, then BCH probably won't be a short today. Okay? I'm just saying this stuff just in case all of this plays out after I'm off the air, after I'm no longer live, right? So that's what I'll be watching later today for short setups. But I won't be if Bitcoin's trading up in here. So this is where I need to see it fail. That price is 552.97. 552.97. I'm very interested. A big sell side here, but we're not seeing it yet on the candles. So I have to be concerned, especially if you see a trending sell side move on deltas. Like if it continues to trend lower today and price just stays choppy, like price isn't pushing lower, that could mean there's an iceberg order soaking up all those asks, and it could be getting ready to spike to the upside. But if price is moving, trending lower with the deltas, I would not be a buyer. Not today. So it looks good, but S&P just closed above resistance. That's a higher close. So S&P looks like it wants to be bullish today. We did just get our 4-hour closure on Farcoin, and it's a good looking 4-hour closure. It's getting close to being oversold on the 4-hour. I'd say that would probably be it to the downside if we get that move today for a while. But it could also end up being a pretty big breakdown, so I don't want to get out too soon. I don't have any reason to close this short. None at all. Like, not even a little bit. The short is literally way up here. This is nowhere even close to threatening. Oh, you can't see it, sorry. The short is way up here. It's nowhere close to threatening my position. I'm even on the right side of the funding rate, so I am just barely making money for just holding the short open. The RSI is under 50. The moving average is holding price down. Like, there's really no reason to close this trade. None. But it is getting a little bit, getting a little bit extended. Last time it got down in here, which would have been a 30 read, you actually got like 1, 2, 3, 4 more closes lower. Now here comes a breakdown potentially. It's got to break down below that. It's got to trend under that. Yeah, and Tesla doing the opposite of what I want. That's because risk markets today are not bearish. This is in the same place it was yesterday when it rejected, but again, it did the exact same thing that it did yesterday. It put in a big bullish engulfing 4-hour candle. It did that yesterday too. Big bullish engulfing 4-hour. That's difficult trading. That is not easy. The positioning on that was terrible too, but it is what it is. I definitely don't like it because of the engulfing just now. But obviously, if it continues to close 4-hour candles under where we just closed, I'll be okay with holding it. But I mean, I don't like it. It doesn't look good. I like, when I'm holding shorts, I like bearish engulfing candles. Like this baby right here. And then this candle. That's what I like to see for shorts. Just not heavy sell side pressure, I guess. The Fartcoin is trending lower for us. Finally. But it needs to be able to sustain that. I need to see sustained lows. Because the dollar is rejecting. And if the dollar is rejecting, it's not going to be any help for a sustained bearish move on Fartcoin. Dollar pressure, upside dollar pressure would be good for a sustained bearish move on Fartcoin. All right, good morning. Could you look at coin? Yeah, let me make sure that I didn't miss anybody else ahead of you. Silver had regular bearish divergence on the 1 hour. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I can't predict price, so I'm never trying to say that any one of you guys are wrong on direction. You can take trades for whatever reason, right? I don't really pay attention to divergences on an intraday basis, but it doesn't mean they don't work. Yeah. Conspiracy theorists have had a pretty good win-loss record lately. I would agree with you and concur with that statement. Absolutely, they have. It looks like they've got a really good win rate across the whole Epstein Island and aliens and literally, yeah, pretty much everything. But that is also kind of a shtick. I've heard a lot of people, especially like Joe Rogan, say that Alex Jones, turns out all the crazy stuff he got made fun of 10 years ago, all of it ended up being true, except for gay frogs and lizard people. Those two, yeah, have not been proven. Or maybe one of them has, but the other one has not. Yeah, they have had. It's funny you say that. They have had a very good win-loss record lately. That was me that took that short. Good job. Good job. You might want to think about taking profits on that euro dollar trade because it is testing the yearly opening range. And if the dollar does reject this weekly high, that means you might see euro dollar and pound dollar strength in the next couple days. But good job on that trade. I also shorted Bitcoin. I explained the hidden divergence on the 2-hour chart on Bitcoin. Remember, the encoder just went absolutely batshit crazy, or OBS did. So, okay. Let's go look at IB. What was it? NBIS. So now that happened, everything is off. Yes, it was NBIS. Okay, let's go look at NBIS for a head and shoulders. Hang on. Is it even a stock? Yes. NASDAQ. Do I see a head and shoulders thinking of shorting the 104 level? Not really. I see price discovery. I mean, you got a double bottom down here, but I don't really consider double bottoms when you liquidate the prior low, right? And that's what happened. You just had a liquidation of the prior low, and then price immediately ran back up into the range. You do have some topping action here. You're in a range, a longer term range. So basically, here is where I'd be looking to put a short on, and only if it could fail there. Only if it can fail here. So I'd be looking for pretty much the same thing that happened down here, right? See what happened down here? If that can happen up here, then I would be okay with holding shorts. At 110. Not 104, 110. The only way I can look for shorts below 110 is if I get an obvious swing failure pattern on like the smaller time frame, like a daily swing high failure. So like tomorrow, if you open and liquidate today's high and then reject, then maybe I could short 108. But I think this is where it's headed. I mean, I would look for the exact same thing to play out here. The problem is longer term it's kind of bullish, right? You have a bullish look to it here on the moving averages, like all of them are structured in the right direction or in the right place for upside continuation. Yeah, it's still bullish. You've done nothing to prove that it's bearish. So if I was looking for the bearish setup, I would absolutely need to see that rejection happen after the liquidation. Let the liquidation happen first, and then look for... So you don't even have to take it when it first trades up into it, right? You could, if you trade up into it like this, and then you put in a wick like this, it could indicate that the next day you might see a breakout, right? Or you could gap up, and that would be worse if you gapped up here and took off. That would be a gap and go. So what I would want to see is I would want to see a rejection, a strong rejection. Like maybe because it's a blue candle, maybe if you give me something like that, right? Like an inverted hammer to the downside. Give me a blue candle like that. Then I could take a short, as that would be an evening star reversal formation. But I would still understand that all these averages are all bullish. Right now, the bulls are clearly in control of this asset, even though it ain't on highs and making fresh highs. They have been buying dips. They bought it again here. And since they bought it, it has went straight up back to the top side of the range. So it feels like the top side of the range is the next liquidation point. And then if you get upside continuation above 110, then you know you don't want to be shorting it. So be careful if you are looking for shorts. I would not short 104. There is an old monthly swing high there so if you don't get up there and then you fall under this first, but I wouldn't love that setup. This will be a bullish engulfing candle at that point on a monthly chart at support. So it's a very strong candle. Very strong candle. Shorts don't look great on it. All right. Good morning. It's always a pleasure to see you live on Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you, Lunar Entity. It's always a pleasure to see you yourself, my friend. Thank you for being here. Yes, we can absolutely go look at Coinbase for pixel property. Oh, it looks rough. You did finally liquidate those swing lows down there, and that ultimately is kind of what is calling the swing low on the near term. It's kind of doing what MicroStrategy and Bitcoin are doing. You did get a nice bounce, but nothing since has come from it. You've got 2024s. It says open there. Let's go make sure that's what it is. It is. Big objective level. And the sellers came right back there. So that doesn't look great. Moving average is very bearish. Very bearish. You're down at the weekly 200 simple. This is the weekly 200 EMA. So the red is, on my chart, red is always going to be the 200 simple. And then 200 EMA should always be purple. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, very, very big level here for coin. Can the buyers show up? We'll see. It looks like they have, but what I would want to see is a long-term range built in, preferably above the 2024 open. Because as long as you're trading below it, it's going to kind of look weak, right? We want to see a strong bounce from this area. It is good that we did make a higher weekly high, as you haven't been able to do that since back here. But it won't matter that you did make a fresh weekly high if you just continue to push lower from here. Coinbase, I think, at these prices is a good value, but that's only if Bitcoin ultimately finds support and starts to go up. If Bitcoin truly is dead, which I don't think it is, then obviously a lot of these are going to die with it. I don't think Bitcoin is dead. I've seen BlackRock, their share is getting bigger. Their share of the pie is getting much, much bigger. That literally means that companies, ETFs, and governments are currently buying long term. They are accumulating. That is good long term for Bitcoin. The more of that happens, the better it will be. Not so much for governments. Because governments will be able to kill it. I don't think they can. I think they would have if they could have already. I honestly see them using it to their benefit, actually. If I was elected in office, I would use Bitcoin to essentially help people and use it like as a huge platform, like why you should buy Bitcoin long term to protect from, vicious government inflation and the theft of your hard-earned money, stuff like that, right? I think Bitcoin should be bought. I think every person alive should own a little bit of Bitcoin. But that's just my hot take, my opinion. It will look and sound stupid if Bitcoin goes to zero. But if Bitcoin goes to 1 million or higher, it will sound prophetic. You just have to decide, how much is it worth you losing if you're wrong, right? And once you've discovered that, once you figure that out, I've got 100K in savings, and I'm willing to risk 10K of it, which is 10% of my total savings, and I'll split it up. I'll buy a little Bitcoin, I'll buy a little Coinbase, I'll buy a little MSTR. What could go wrong? But if you try to do it with your entire life savings and you lose it all, then that would be bad. So as long as you know the risks and are more than aware of the risks associated with investing, these are definitely areas you want to be buying. Oversold levels are always decent places to start, building a small position in these things. Always. Always. It doesn't mean it will be in the future, but at least in the past, it has been. And unfortunately, past data is all we have to look at. We can't look at future data. It don't exist. But looking at past data, this is a buying area on Coinbase. But it could go much lower, right? It could go much lower because it did spend some time in oversold on the monthly chart there for a little while. Oh, it could go lower. Just understand the risks. Mitigate those losses and you're good to go. How often does point of control refresh on SVP? It refreshes as, depending on the time frame you're looking at, it refreshes with every candle close. So if you're looking at SVP, session volume profile, and the point of control on the session, right? That's usually going to be the daily range every day. The point of control will refresh at every candle closure, because that's where it's getting its data from. But when this candle closes, all of this stuff will refresh. Yeah, it could migrate lower. It's trying to build in right here. These two nodes are building in. But if you're looking at the 5 minute, then every 5 minute close. So like you can see how the POC is right here at 66,489. There is BCH. Hang on one second. This is what we're looking for right here. Let me get BCH pulled up on. This is a potential trade op. We'll go right back to Coinbase in a second. Or we'll go right back to talking about the point of control in a second. BCH is actually alerting a potential setup here. But Tesla isn't. Tesla's in the red. I put that trade on yesterday. That literally means that today Tesla's back up to my entry. So right here, we can start to put on a little bit of risk. We got to give it a second. Big 5 minute candle here. That's the liquidation. It is the new 4 hour candle. So we're doing exactly what I said I wanted to see. We opened a new candle. We are pushing up. We haven't quite tested the weekly open yet, which is right here. Just come on. Get up there and then reject for me. And then I can short you. Let's see where the session volume profile point of control is on this, so we can watch this and actually talk about it. But yeah, it just depends on the time frame you're looking at. And then every one of those closes will update this indicator. And yes, it will migrate. The point of control will migrate up. It will migrate down. The only thing this is showing you is where the majority of the volume is and what price it traded at. So basically, if you get up here and then start building in a lot of volume, see how there's no volume here at the weekly open? These volume nodes are so very small. So you're probably going to trade up into here and spend some time sideways. Maybe it may reject here, but then you'll build these volume nodes in. So if they build in bigger, then obviously this POC is going to migrate up to there. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, I'll start with a small position here right now, just in case, so it doesn't roll over on me. And then I'll build in a little bit bigger of a position as it trades up to the weekly open. But yeah, it'll migrate after every close. And yes, it does happen automatically. Yeah, automatically. I never wait. Give me 1 second. I never understand why people who say they buy spot are scared to buy low, but excited to buy high. It's human emotion. Human emotion. That is all. People are too afraid to buy the lows because they feel like it's going to go lower. That's why. They don't understand risk mitigation as well. They don't understand what risk management really is. They're trying to get rich. Like, there's a million different reasons why, but it is all based in and around human emotion. Human emotion. For me, it doesn't mean anything if I win or lose a trade. One trade is not going to do anything unless it's a really, really good one, right? It's not going to do a whole lot in terms of performance. It's not going to be a big loser. All the losers are going to be the same. The only thing that can be different is a winner. That's the only thing in the portfolio that can change. So, yeah, once people fully comprehend that, understand that they can't predict price, and it's just about, especially with long-term investing, it's mostly about time in the market instead of timing the market. But everybody assumes they can time the market because they think they can predict price, but they can't, unfortunately. Yeah, it would be nice if we could, right? I'd be a trillionaire if I could predict price. A trillionaire. I would not stop at a trillion either. I would have more money than any other man on the planet. If I could just predict 1 second into the future, 1 time per week, I would be a trillionaire. Obviously, it would take many years for me to do it, but I could do it. 1 second into the future, I could do it. Do it. Yeah, human emotion, it's a bitch. Is XRP going to the abyss? I don't know. I really don't know what XRP's use case is, unfortunately. I think it does have utility, right? Holy cow, this is an old chart. I think it does have utility, like a use case, a legitimate use case, but I don't know what it is. I know one thing. It looks bad on the monthly. It has been trending lower for like the last 6 months. It looks rough. But when it broke out of 50 cents, or what is it? 70 cents? When it broke out, it went on an absolute tear. So clearly people liked it down here at those prices. I just don't know where they're going to like it again. But clearly, I could say the same on this as I could Bitcoin. If you look at historical data, right? Historical data says that an oversold weekly is a decent place to pick up some XRP. The last time you got oversold here, you actually ran from 51 cents all the way up to 72 cents. That's almost a 20% return. If you bought the oversold tech there, you made 20% on your investment. If you bought the oversold check here, you made another 20% on the investment if you could just be patient. So historically, you did not close a weekly candle in oversold yet. However, when this week was pushing under 120, you were in oversold territory. I almost guarantee it. So maybe wait for the weekly close to confirm an oversold reading. You need under 30. And then pick up a couple if you're looking for a long-term investment on it. It could keep going lower. It can stay oversold for a long time. Just look how long MicroStrategy has been oversold on the weekly. So just because you buy the oversold does not mean you're going to make money. I started buying MicroStrategy at $180 because it hit oversold. And it has stayed oversold since I started buying it. 180 is where I started buying it. So I started buying it in this candle right there. So since I bought it, it has been like I've been in the red for 13 weeks. 13 weeks. That's a long time. Every 4 weeks is a month. So I've been in this thing for a minute. 3 months. I've been in the red. But I know at 180, a bounce could get me back up there. So I am not closing the trade. It's more of an investment. It's not a trade. Because I knew it could trade sideways for months. And it is. So I'd say most of the heavy downside pressure is probably done. Unless something tragic happens. If some tragic news comes out, like Binance is insolvent or MSTR is insolvent, and we know they're not. They literally put out, Michael Saylor put out a post the other day that said they could still pay all their debts on their preferreds with Bitcoin down at $8,000. They're not worried. They're not worried. Now all they need for is the rest of the market to not be worried anymore. Once that happens, you're probably going to see a sizable bounce on this. But it has been oversold for a long time. That could also happen to XRP. It could also happen to Coinbase. It can happen to any asset. You can stay oversold forever. But it is typically a good place to be a buyer, historically speaking. It stayed oversold here for a long time too, and then it bounced. Boom. That's what we're waiting for right there. The bounce. And then, once that happens, then we'll see if they come in and hit it again or not. But yeah, this thing is definitely buyable down here. Because it's like a 2x levered Bitcoin ETF at this point. So when Bitcoin finds support and starts to bounce, this is going to bounce aggressively. Also, I think they said they're going to chill out on converting MSTR shares. I could be wrong on that. But because basically when they do that, they themselves put sell side pressure on their own ticker symbol. All right, back to BCH. It is kind of rejecting here. It doesn't look like it's going to give me a weekly open retest. So if I get a pullback, I'm going to have to add to the position. I just didn't want to get stopped out getting too heavy too quick on position sizing. So the 4 hour open is right here. If it starts to trade under that, that's probably where I would be looking to add. I'll make that a green line to the sell, right? I just didn't want to get in too much here and then end up getting stopped out if it does run up. See what Fartcoin is not doing? It is not trending anymore. So I kind of wanted to see it trend. It's not. And it probably isn't because risk markets aren't. Risk markets are basically sideways up here. Here's the S&P right here. Very sideways. The dollar still... Oh, you can't see the dollar. Sorry. Let me make it so you can barely see it. That's the weekly low, weekly high that it's rejecting currently. So it has rejected, but it hasn't rejected hard. Not yet. S&P rejecting yearly opening range. It's a big level. Bitcoin not trending either. That's the daily. Let's put it on the 4 hour. Yeah, Bitcoin, it's struggling to trend down, but I wouldn't say it's a buy just yet. If it keeps doing this, that would be a good look. But it kind of did that yesterday, didn't it? And it didn't really go anywhere, so. It is into a support area. This is the support area for anybody that's just showing up. That's the objective support. You haven't been able to close a 12-hour candle under that price. 4 hour support is just under that. So if you want to watch 4 hour support, you could. Right there is 4 hour support. You start closing 4 hour candles under that consecutively, not just one. If you get consecutive closes, then it's breaking down and who knows where it's going. But as of right now, this is the objective support level. So you haven't been able to break down below this yet. VIX is up at last week's close. So that's why it's rejecting here. If the VIX does reject here and keeps going lower, the S&P will probably break out. And that would put upside pressure on Bitcoin and Fartcoin probably. So I wanted to see heavy volumes We started to see heavy volumes, and then those volumes quit being heavy. Now they've switched to heavy buy-side deltas. So it feels as if, though, the low of the day is probably in. I mean, you're seeing heavier bullish volumes than you've seen all day right now. Still very negative, but it's where it's trending from. It's trending from the floor. Like if I put a line on here, it's like almost support, right? It like quit going lower here, 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 here. So since I'm short already, I'm not going to be too worried about it, but I do need to seriously think about closing it if it starts to trade back above this stuff here. As long as it's in this candle's range, I'm not concerned. But if it gets back above this high, then I will have to be concerned. All right, here's VCH. It's back up. This is what I want. I want to put it on up here if it rejects. Don't want to do that if Bitcoin's going to be bullish for the rest of the day, because it probably ain't going to reject. We'll see. Now we're getting up there. See how being patient is fine. It's okay. I said if we started trading under the green line, then I would think about adding down here, but there's no point to add down there. I want to add up here now that we're back up there. Big breakdown through here earlier. Very little volume traded here, so it would be absolutely beautiful if it could just grind up into this volume area. Very little nodes. So we could trade up in here and then roll over. That's what I want to see. And then I can put my short on right here. And I can mitigate that with a stop up here. Absolutely beautiful. But it has to happen. Has to happen. Silver did reject. Silver's back down. Kind of curious about that. You know what hasn't happened? USD JPY has not put in a lower. You've basically been trading inside this 4-hour candles range, well, for that much time. You haven't been able to trade lower than the open of this candle. Now, if you were going to see heavy sell side pressure here, you'd think this thing would be blue by now. It would be down by now. It's not even down yet. It's still up. So it doesn't feel like a rejection just yet. Doesn't feel like a rejection just yet. And then here's BCH. So I started adding. We tag that weekly open and fail, then I'll add heavy. 650 on the Fartcoin short. So we got plenty of capital to throw at this thing. It's rejecting again. We can be a little bit more patient. So it's literally overvalue up here according to this value area, but that is definitely wrong. That is not 70%. There we go. It's still overvalued. That's funny. That was a pretty big breakdown right there. The downside move could be done. That would have been fantastic to be in. If I would have been short up here, that would have been a nice move. Let's see how big of a percentage move that is. Oh, it's not that big of a move at all. Not compared to, like, if that happened on Fartcoin, it'd be like a 10% drop. Tesla refused to roll over. Now it's making higher highs. So you liquidated pre-market highs on Tesla and continued. So it doesn't feel like these markets are bearish. Nvidia is struggling at yesterday's close, but I mean, it almost feels like a buying op. I'm not going to buy it because it's 11:38 in the morning, but it almost feels like it is. Like, why ain't it rolling over? If the sellers were aggressive, this thing would be trending on lows. It isn't trending. The sellers are not that aggressive. If BCH breaks out above the weekly open and starts to push up into here, I'm not interested in the short. Not until we get up here. If we get up here, then I would be, but not in the middle here. In the middle here, I am not interested in a short. I want to see it fail here. I'm going to close that Tesla position. I have a feeling Tesla is going to rip. It's going, if it's up this high, it's definitely aiming for yesterday's high. And there's no point for me being in it any longer. This is not a rejection. It's straight up all day. Feels pretty damn bullish. Right here's daily res. You're way above it. You're way above it. So, yeah, the Tesla short, not that great. Come on, BCH, get up here. So you're right into that no volume nodes. So it could spike up into there. But it feels like it's... Feels like it's a struggle, huh? It's barely moving. What is going on? It's like someone just turned this thing off. Let's look at this real quick. Not that. The deltas. Holy cow. The deltas were heavily negative and then they switched to heavily bullish. That's odd. Very odd price action here. Point of control definitely looks like people bought this range up. They weren't really interested in buying it in this area as it's mostly sellers down there. Yellow is sell side delta. Blue is buy side delta. So very much heavily sell side deltas here. And then up in here is mostly buy side. That's why your POC is here. So it looks like they bought the dip. We'll find out here in just a second. I would love to see just a wick into 552.97 and then drop. And USD JPY has finally made a fresh 4-hour low. Or this 4-hour low, not the prior 4-hour low. This current 4-hour session has just finally made a fresh low. All right, while we're waiting for this thing to do absolutely nada. What am I listening to? Oh, I guess it's in my watch list. Okay, never mind. All right. Whatever Bitcoin is about to do applies to XRP. It applies to almost all cryptos. And 5150-V2V has retracted a bunch of messages. Thoughts on XRP? We looked at XRP. It's sold. It's oversold. Oversold on the weekly. Would it make sense placing a trade purely based on session volume profile? No, not for me. I wouldn't do that because the POC migrates. Some people do. I'm not saying that you can't. For me, myself, I will only place entries at objective price levels. Old weekly opens, closes, swing highs, swing lows, monthly closes, open, swing highs, swing lows. So like the downside trade makes sense here, but only because of what price has done all week. Okay. So like if we look at this in terms of this week, this is the weekly open and it's coming back up to it right now. But the week opened and price was bullish. Very choppy, but still bullish because it was above the open. So objectively speaking, price was bullish on the week. It set a fresh weekly low right here and then bounced at the weekly open. So the buyers were saying the same thing I'm saying right now about it. If price can come down to the weekly open and reject going lower, I will buy it. It did that. It traded to the weekly open a little bit below it, but it rejected lower prices, so they bought it. Then they got their move higher. Then it came back and made a fresh weekly low, but bounced again. This time it was a lower high bounce. Then it came back to the weekly open again, bounced again, another lower high bounce, back again, same thing. Lower high bounce and then drop. So what I want to see, now that I've seen all week, the buyers were defending the weekly open. They lost it right here. I want to see if the sellers will say, yeah, I want to short now. So because of that, I will put a short on right here and only here. Because if price is trading above the weekly open, it does two things. One, it's stopping out the sellers that are selling this level. And two, it's no longer bearish on the weekly range. It just went down and made a fresh weekly low and then bounced aggressively. Why did it bounce there? Well, that's December's open. Another objective level. So buyers said, if we lose the weekly open, I will look at it to get long only down here at the December open and only if it can hold. It held. It held there for an hour and a half. That was enough to get buyers to come in there and buy it up. So the only reason I like it for the sell here is because it has been making lower lows all week long. Right? Even the daily candles, because each box is a daily range, even your daily highs have been lower high, lower high, lower high all week long. So if the sellers can prove to me that they are here, and by proving to me that they are here, that means price will not trade above this level. I can put a short on. That's it. Has nothing to do with this POC, this POC, this POC, or that POC. I don't need that indicator. I like to look at it and see where they are, where the POCs are, how they're forming. You know what I mean? As it can show you where the buyers and sellers are, but it doesn't really matter where they are. What matters is how price reacts at objective levels. Because if it does do what I want to see it do, then we know the stop losses are going to be in here, right? Anybody that shorts this, if they have any leverage at all on the trade. Their stop isn't going to be at the weekly high. Only big money traders without leverage would be able to put a short on here and put a stop up here. 100, 200, 300x levered positions, even 20, 50, 40x leverage, their stop isn't even going to be up here. That's why I can't look for shorts in this area, because if it's above the weekly open, it is stopping out shorts, and I don't want to be one of them. So the only other level that I could be a seller on this is right up here, as it gives me areas to mitigate my risk. It has nothing to do with my ability to predict price. I do not know what price will do. Nobody does. But I do know this is a big level, objectively speaking, and just in terms of what it is, right? In terms of that's where buyers were buying, and now they're stopped. So now new positions are being put on. New traders are taking the data they have, which is the same data I have, and applying it into what potentially might happen in the future. And are they willing to risk money to see if they're right or wrong? I am. I am willing to risk money to see if price will roll over here. If it will, then I'll make money. If it don't, then I won't. It's that simple. Also, I can see now that price is currently trending under and could not get any bullish pressure above the VWAP, the weekly VWAP, which is the volume weighted average price. I can see that the selling pressure this week has been stronger than the buying pressure. So at least I have that going for me. And now I have this objective level going for me. So I have two things that are going for this short. Two things. You're trending lower. This is the weekly open. This level decides whether Bitcoin Cash is up on the week or down on the week. It's this price. Right now, Bitcoin Cash is down on the week, and all week long it has been making lower weekly lows. That's enough data for me to put on a risk or put risk in the market. Let's see if I'm going to be right or wrong. It's that simple. And if you do that and you're good at mitigating your risk, over time, you will make money in the markets. Because you will catch trending moves. You will catch them. You won't be right every time, but you will be right. And on those times that you're right, you're going to make a lot more money than you risked when you were wrong. That's how you make money in this business. That's it. It's an if this, then that statement, right? If this happens, then I will do that. And some of them make money, some of them don't. But because I do it the same way every time, it works out. That's it. That's all I need. I can look at a chart in 5 seconds and decide if I want to trade it or not, based on whether it's objectively weak or whether it's objectively strong. Right now, Bcash is objectively weak on the weekly range. So I'm willing to short it, baby, to see if it will continue to be objectively weak. But only time will tell, right? There's no indicator that I can look at that will tell me whether it will be or won't be. The only thing that I can do as a trader is put the position on. It's not luck, it's skill in finding those levels and understanding what they represent and how price works. That's all skill. But in terms of price prediction, I have none. Zero. Zilch. And so does every other trader. Nobody knows what price will do. It may look like they do sometimes. You may see big traders take big bets at specific areas, but they don't. They don't know if they're going to be right or wrong. The people that lost $50 million on those long trades on Bitcoin early in the year, obviously, if they knew what price was going to do, they would not have been short. I mean, they would not have been long at those levels because they got liquidated. 4 accounts on 10/10 lost a combined $150 million. That would suck so bad to go to bed and your trading account has 12 million in it, right? And you're up on a couple trades, and a couple trades you're down, but your account balance right now sets at 12 mil. Your account is up 40% on the year. Everything is looking good. You kiss your wife, you go to sleep. Then you wake up the next day and your account is setting at 0. Triple freaking zeros. All positions closed. All millions gone. 0.00 is what your account reads now. Can you think of what that would do to a human? Mentally. The only way it really hurts is if the guy only had $12 million. Everything he had was in the account. Then it hurts bad. But if he's worth $1 billion, 12 million ain't anything, right? It's literally nothing. I'll just deposit 10 billion or 10 more million into the account tomorrow. It's perspective, but yeah, they don't know what price is going to do. Nobody does. We like to act like we do sometimes, but that's just pride. Pox, I like to see when I'm like using the point of control specifically, I like to see where the most volume traded in the range. So like here is Sunday, so we don't even need Sunday. But we'll just look at it. It doesn't count for this week's range. So basically what I can see when I look at just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I can see that the majority of the volume at the beginning of the week was here. So what happened up here? Well, here was your prior weekly high. You broke out above the prior week high. So you stopped a lot of shorts out right there. And then how do you stop a short out, right? They buy back into the market. So they were short, but by it going up, it brought in more buying pressure because all those shorts got stopped out. And then you also have new traders looking for this breakout to then go long. So as price trades back down into the POC, they get long because it's also a breakout. They're anticipating that breakout to continue. And then they get a bounce, and then it comes right back down and then stops those people out. And then the point of control migrates lower. So the buyers and sellers are still here, but they're a little bit lower now. But they're still looking at the same things. They still want to be long from the weekly open. They still want to be short where they think the weekly high is. So I can see that the point of control has been migrating lower and price has been going lower. So I don't know if the buyers or sellers, I don't know who won the battle here. I could say the sellers did because the lows are lower. I mean, the highs are lower. Boom, boom, boom. So it does look like if the sellers were watching prior day highs or prior swing highs, if they took trades there, they made money maybe when this thing broke down. If it goes back up above this level, then it will be stopping out all the new sellers. But I can see this point of control and this point of control are both equal distance apart from monthly res. So maybe if price gets up here and rejects, I could put another short on. But I wouldn't want to really see that because at that point, it's no longer bearish on the weekly range. It is now bullish again. So really and truly, I mostly put this indicator on because it does a good job of showing people where the objective open of the day is, where the objective high of the day is. And then if I'm looking at prior days, they can see what happened during those prior days. It just puts a box, wraps a nice neat box around the prior day highs, prior day candles. But yeah, we can't ever predict what will happen, even if we're looking at a million indicators. The less is usually better. More indicators can give you analysis paralysis. Like this indicator says I should be bullish, that indicator says I should be bearish, yada yada. I just basically want to be able to look at price and in hindsight be able to say objectively where it has been going and put my trades on in that direction. And it tends to work out long term if you do it that way. Yeah. All right, let's go look at what Farcoin's doing because it's still trading under the previous 4-hour swing low. But it does look like it's trying to break down through this trend line here. So maybe people are putting on a lot of longs here based on that trend line support. I was kind of hoping to see like a big breakdown through there, but that didn't happen. So I'm kind of curious as to why. And risk markets have kind of rolled over. They didn't make a fresh daily low yet. On the futures, you might have made a fresh daily low on the cash market, but on the futures, you didn't. That's your day low right there on the futures. Oh, S&P struggling to stay above yesterday's open. So anybody that bought yesterday, they're stuck. But while this was trading sideways here, you know they were praying that it would break out. So Tesla did not go liquidate the prior day high. I will be mad because I did close that trade out. If it doesn't do that, I'm going to be upset. Because it looked like it was going to, didn't it? This is where the problem is probably for the markets, because Nvidia isn't like breaking down, but it isn't going up either. So right now you have a full-on intraday short setup if you watch moving averages to place trades. Your 200 is still above the 20. Oh, at least on the near term, the sellers are still in control of this. They haven't got the breakdown yet. Dollar is also headed back up to last week's high. So it kind of feels like that silver short is probably going to work out. Look at it. It stopped me out and then it rolled over. So obviously I wasn't the only one watching 4-hour supply. That sucks. But I'm okay with it. If it trades sideways, I don't want to be in it either because it's the shorts have to pay the longs right now. Because of the funding. But yeah, a bearish risk market, like bearish Nvidia, bearish risk, bullish dollar would help the BCH trade also. If you have a bullish dollar, that could put pressure on this. It's only helpful. It's only helpful. As far as if you're going to get a big breakdown or not, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do, but Funding rate is paying the sellers on BCH. So that's another check kind of in our box. BCH funding rate paying the sellers. It's positive. So if it fails here and gives us a trending move in our direction, we'll make money. We won't make a lot of money. This thing doesn't move that violently. It doesn't move as violently as Farcoin does. Farcoin moves violently. Because from where that short entry is to where price is a 13.7% move. It's a nice move. But it's been days, right? It's been days. I entered it on Sunday. So we're just now, yesterday and today, we're just now starting to get that trending move on Farcoin. So I definitely ain't going to close it. But if it starts making higher 4-hour highs, I have to seriously think about it, right? As long as it's making lower highs, I'm good to hold this short. Now we want to see BCH do the same thing. Actually, what we would really love to see happen to BCH is a bearish engulfing. Because we've already taken out the prior high. Now we want to see it take out the prior low. Yeah, that would be good. But you can see where my stop is. Right? It is just above. And the reason is because I'm only going to lose $26 if I'm wrong here. And I already know I don't want to be short above the week open. So, yeah, I can lose $30 to say that. Because if I'm right, I'm going to make 300, 400, 500. But then it also will give me another opportunity to go at it again. And still only lose $30 more. My max risk is $100 per day. And in the attempt of trying to make 300 per day. It gives me multiple opportunities to be wrong. 3 of them, to be exact. I'm not loving this, though. It's very slow. It is moving so slow. It's at a snail's pace. The volumes are very light here. See how gappy the candles are on the 5-minute time frame? That means there's very thin liquidity on this. But as far as trading volume goes, 45 million tokens have traded in the last 24-hour period. So it isn't that thin. But I guess apparently maybe it's just thin today. I don't know. Stop loss is going to be like up in the air. So if it starts trading up in here, I'll get stopped out and then I'll watch what it does up here and then put it on up there, but only if it fails. I won't know if it's going to fail, right? If it's trading under it, I'll put it on. And then if I get stopped out again, I'm just done with it. It ain't doing what I want it to do anyways if it's trading up here. But what I want it to do is roll over from here. Simple. Very simple. Simple. You could argue that they did buy the dip, but why? I wouldn't want to buy it. This asset is bullish, though, on the longer term, right? So we have to be cautious when looking for shorts. Let's go look at the daily again. It was very bullish. I wouldn't say very bullish, but big breakout here, pull back into support. They bought higher low support. The daily 21 EMA is right here. So today we could just be early on this trade. Very wicky, very choppy. I don't like assets like that. The daily 21 comes in right here. So maybe I won't take more than 1 or 2 opportunities on it today because of that. Because if it closes back above the 21 today, it's going to feel like a support held. You also have the 200 EMA down here. A lot of potential support here. That's why it's like not really going. But if the sellers are more powerful here, it will break down, whether today or tomorrow. Be all right with it. I'm okay with it. Either way, I'm okay with it. Good day, Heathen Company. What's up, Nick? Would it make sense to place a trade? Oh, that's the one I just read earlier. Hello, Heath. Can we look at Palantir? Absolutely. Palantir. The biggest company in the world when it comes to watching normal American citizens. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I mean, it looks like people... I mean, this thing... It took off. It was a huge short squeeze. Massive. Similar to Tesla. Oh, I mean, it's very volatile. It still looks like it wants to go lower, doesn't it? It tested the 50 this week, and that's where the sellers showed up. I guess we could just put it right there and then break it down intraday. So yesterday the sellers came back, and they came back at the weekly 21 exponential. It looks pretty rough on the daily. You're making a death cross here, but that's the 200 simple and the 50 EMA. You're not making a death cross with the EMAs. You're probably not making a death cross with the MAs either. We can put the 50 simple on there and just see. Yeah, you're not making a death cross yet, but yeah, I mean, it looks weak on the daily, but on the weekly, it still looks just fine. It still looks just fine. I mean, not really, right? It's testing the 50 and rejecting. So that could mean you're going to see more downside on it. It looks weak. It looks weak. It looks like it wants to go lower. I wouldn't be a seller where they sold it. Like, I don't take trades based on moving averages. I have to take them based on objective price levels. So, like, if it would get up here and then reject, I could sell it. But not where they sold it. So, if Palantir's under 145 spot 87, I could short it. As long as it's trading under that price. It's trading above that price, it could be coming back up to the prior week open or even the prior week's high. So I wouldn't be able to put on shorts until one of those two places. But if it can stay under 145.87, I could short it, hypothetically speaking. It does look like it wants to go lower as you're rejecting the 50 EMA. And that's usually like when a bullish trend is done. You know what I mean? Like if we come over here and look at it, you see how you came in, retested the 50. I know it just came live here, but it did bounce off the 50. And then you lost the 50 here, and then they sold the 50 there, and then boom, 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 right? That kind of looks like what it's doing here. Here they retested the 50 on the first attempt. After losing it here, this was the first time it got retested. And they sold it again, but the buyers were too strong. And then boom, it broke out. Got a nice run higher. Then after all the time went by, people lost interest in it. Not the 21 EMA buyers. They were here the whole time. So you come back in, you're testing a 21 EMA weekly again here. And it's holding. Another bullish trend. See how they bought it up there? Then you got super volatile as a big gap down. Happened on earnings. But the 50 was a buying op. Boom, right back up it went. And that propelled an even higher trending move. And then it took off. So here you are now. This is the first time since you retested it back here that you were retesting it and the buyers lost. They tried it again last week and they failed again. And now this week they're failing again. So this thing is probably getting ready to take off to the downside. BACH just stopped me out. Let's see what it's doing. Big spike up above the weekly open here. This is where I wanted to see it reject. So I can't short it as long as it's up here. I'll give it a little bit, another 15-20 minutes, see what it does, and then I'll make a decision then. If it continues to push higher, I'm not interested in it anymore. So we're okay. We're not dead yet. We lost $27. We'll survive. We're making $6.50 on Barcoin. Yeah, be careful if you're long Palantir. If you bought it like back when it was going absolutely bananas, you might want to be careful. You might want to think about seriously taking profits, because you just looked back on all of Palantir's history, and it literally, that 50 is huge for Palantir. It is massively huge. Yeah, be careful. If it can't get back above 145, the sellers are still in control of it. And you could start seeing a pretty deep retracement, because it's been in this bounce range for a few days now. I wouldn't doubt it if people aren't taking the sell trade on Palantir right now, today. Like, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I'm not going to, but I wouldn't doubt it if they aren't selling that. Based on what happened the other day on the 50. I can trade Palantir, but I mean, on this platform, I can trade it, but it's only got 19,000 contracts traded today. Not many people are trading it. Yeah, not many people are trading it at all on this platform. All right, back over here because it's going to run up. So I'm probably done with this. Yeah, it's stopping all the weak open short sellers right now. It's stopping all of them out. That's why you're getting this aggressive push. So I would be very cautious about shorting this now. Very cautious. It's not doing what we wanted to see it do, remember? I just wanted to see a wick up above this, a retag of that, and then it fail. It did not do that, so obviously it isn't a short just yet. And this is a very choppy asset. Very choppy. Don't get chopped up on it. You can clearly see that it is a choppy asset. Very choppy. We like trending assets. So be careful. The only reason it's up here is because of what it did yesterday. Otherwise, it wouldn't even I wouldn't even have it on watch right now. So if you're still holding silver shorts, because I'm getting ready to wrap this up. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat right now. We're going to wrap this up it's noon now. So probably won't see anything happen until about 2 or 3 o'clock. You could potentially still hold it. I mean, the one guy that's short has his stop up at 80, so he's still holding it. I don't see any reason to close it just yet, as the dollar has not rolled over. If the dollar breaks out, I honestly believe silver could fall still today. If you start trading above last week's open, then maybe you should think about just getting out of it, because at that point you were trending higher. You did make a higher high here, so that's after a lower low. So the close on this candle is going to be very important, because if it closes down here, that will bring more sellers in later on today. They'll think it's done, especially if the dollar is breaking back to the upside. But definitely this one is no longer relevant. People probably will try to sell 4-hour supply, but I'm not going to. I wanted to see a rejection at the weekly open, because it was absolutely support here, here. You know what I mean? So all the shorts are getting stopped out right now. If it does end up rolling back over again, then I'll jump on it then. All right. Let's go see what Bitcoin is doing. That's why right there. Bitcoin is rallying. That's why. If Bitcoin continues to rally, then it'll probably be a useless short. That's basically what happened to us on Hype too. Hype did a lot of that, where like it looked like it was going to roll over, and then Bitcoin would get slightly bullish, and then this thing would get rarely bullish. Because these things, all the crypto assets will experience liquidity flows from liquidity providers just because of what Bitcoin is doing. That's why they all kind of trade similarly to each other. But that probably also means that Farcoin is trying to bounce down here. I'll be okay with it. It's still just a midpoint check. But if it starts to get up here, I'm going to take my money and run. Because at that point, this thing would be a bullish engulfing at a trend line support. I don't want to be holding shorts on that. All right. Was Palantir hack a joke or real? I read it too, so it seemed real. But if you also remember over the weekend, I said I'm not seeing any futures volatility, so I don't know. Take everything you read on the internet with a grain of salt, because unless you can confirm it's real. I didn't even look to see if it was real or not. Okay, BRC. I don't know if you're talking about a stock or a crypto. Looks like a stock. Let's go look at BRC, the stock. So it's got a big move today. So I'm assuming this thing is all over some scanners right now. What are your intentions with this company? Are you only wanting to look at it because it's hitting scanners today? Obviously, it's been really bullish, but I'm not getting involved in that. This thing had a nasty downside wick today. There's no liquidity in this. Not much liquidity is in this thing. It doesn't even trade pre and post market. Not really. When I see candles like this, I definitely would not be getting involved with an intraday basis. But for like long-term buy and holds, it's very bullish right now. I wouldn't be a buyer on highs. I'm never a buyer on highs. I wouldn't be trying to sell it for sure. It's not weak, it's strong. I mean, it looks like the sky is the limit at this point. Yeah, I mean, you're at all-time highs. This chart migrates from bottom left to top right. It looks like a very nice long-term investment. I don't know what Brady Corporation is. I've never looked at this ticker before. I can't tell you what they do or anything like that. But I would definitely not be buying it today. You're going to run into the same thing that happened to the silver buyers at 108, 120, 115, right? Maybe not today or tomorrow, but eventually this thing is going to pull back. And it is a very aggressive mover because it's got so much volatility in it right now. But you're overbought on the quarterly chart. You're overbought on the monthly. It is not the time to be buying this thing. This is as overbought as it got before, but back here, it made it all the way into the 90s on the overbought indicator. Yeah, there's nothing to do here for me. I definitely don't want to be trading this intraday because it so little liquidity in it. It's spotty and glitchy and choppy. It looks like a very thinly traded altcoin. But it's on fire today. That was a pretty sizable move. If you go from low to high today, it's moved almost 7% with a gap here, which is weird. Maybe they halted. They wouldn't have halted it because it didn't hit 10% on an intraday basis. So I don't understand what this gap is from. Just very thin liquidity. Be careful. You can lose a lot of money on something like this. Because it could close this candle and open another candle down here and spike down. I don't trust things like this. Longer term, when it pulls back, if it pulls back, let it build in a long-term support, a long-term range, like it did here. See how it spent many months trying to close under 69.71, a monthly candle, but couldn't until here. You would be a buyer on the lows, right? You would be trying to target those lows, and that's where you'd be buying. So you need to wait for that to happen over here. Let it go into like a 6-8 month range, and then try to buy up the lows. But even then, it would be a little bit crazy. That's massively overbought. Yeah. Massively overbought. It had earnings today. That's why it's so volatile. And I don't got anything here. Hopefully, I mean, I can't really say a lot about it, right? It's on highs. I mean, these are the things that everybody wants to trade. It's up. It's making fresh all-time highs. I gotta buy it. Not me. Don't do that. Don't fall victim to FOMO. Hopefully, you bought this years ago. And you're just kind of wondering what's going on here. I can't tell you what's going on, but it looks really good. If you bought it years ago, keep holding it. Let's go see what the analyst rating is on this thing. It's a strong buy. But it's only 2 analysts, so never mind. There's no way I'd buy this thing up here. It's going to pull back eventually. So be careful. When you get to overcooked like that, you got to leave it alone. It's got to chill. All right, so you are seeing some pullback here, but not enough just yet. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will be interested in keeping an eye on this for the rest of the day, but I'm not interested in selling it above 552. It needs to get back under it. It needs to show me that is resistance. Then I can jump on it again and try to, risk another 30 bucks to make 300. See you on the next one. Thank you. I'll see you then. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.